Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Now, we just had a technical interruption with one of our live streams, so I've now rescheduled a members, or will reschedule, a members-only live stream in the next couple of minutes, but in the meantime, you can enjoy the dulcet tones of whoever is left in G+ and Discord while I set up for today's member-only live stream.
Definitely worth checking out.
It is weird that to imagine a globe, you have to imagine it first flat and then do it from that. You don't get to start with a globe. You only have to start from flat.
I really believe it's got to do with what we see in the sky. Because they see the circular sun and the circular moon and supposed circular planets, that's what pushed them to put us on this globe.
I don't know. I think the globe is past its expiration date, and I think that's where we're at right now. I think it was always made to break.
Right. But if they would just read page 1, Genesis, you got all the answers you need right there.
To be fair, that's like the only page that I actually did read.
Well, for cosmology, then you're good. But if you want to get on to redemption and the plan for man, salvation, you need to go deeper.
I remember I was 17 and this dude I was working for at a screen printer shop, he saved me in his truck, made me read all these passages, and it felt important at the time. And I don't know, it just kind of slips, and you think to yourself, can I get it back? And then more time passes, you live. But I don't know if once saved, always saved, or if I got to do more. I don't know.
Wait, what did you say? Once saved, always saved. What?
I was just saying I don't know if it's if the rule goes, once saved, always saved, or if I gotta, keep filling the cup, if I gotta keep doing something specific. I don't really know.
I thought about that for years and years, and I lean more towards once saved, always saved, because you can't get to heaven through works and deeds. Like, everything's always going to be bloody, dirty rags, no matter how good of a thing we do. We could give every homeless person in the United States a house, and it's not going to make you any more. I don't know.
It's not once saved, always saved. It's if you got saved, then there's nothing you could do to lose it because it was not merited by anything you've done anyway.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it is once saved, always saved. I mean, but then again, you can't because you hear this from a lot of atheists and stuff.
Yeah, but then you
Oh,
weren't saved.
so
I know
okay, so
exactly
you
where
say
you're
you
going.
believe in God, then you go rob a bank and kill people and steal money from
Okay,
your grandparents. Like, no, that's not how that works.
Yeah, then you never did get saved. So let's put it that way. When you give your heart to Christ,
Yeah, exactly.
there's a change that happens. I'm not saying you're perfect. This is the way I say it. I say I'm a Christian. I don't claim to be sinless, but I do sin less because I'm aware. Whereas in time past, I'd just do anything. I wouldn't give a crap about anything. Now you got that inner voice inside of you crying out for you to do the right thing. And when you do wrong, it's going to let you know.
Oh yeah.
I always had a guilty conscience. I was always not worried about that thought that like I was always going to be sorry even at the end, you know. Just try to not hurt people. I don't guess it's hard, but you try.
I'm curious. Can you save yourself by measuring the curvature of levels? That's the thing now, apparently.
Not in 2024. As it's measured flat.
Yeah, I was just wondering because I didn't know level had a curvature. Apparently, you can measure that.
No, it's
So,
zero slope. You keep asking them how much slope is in zero slope. They don't answer me.
Hello. Communicate in English easily. Use Grammarly.
Yeah, if you want to measure the curvature of level, then you
don't measure the curvature of level.
that's
No, it's
almost.
measured
if you want
flat.
to measure
requirement.
Yeah, if you want to measure the curvature of level, then you
don't measure the. Oh.
That's almost as good as the hypothesis for the shoe is this is a shoe. Almost, not as good.
I really like measured flat. Like when it first came out, it was a hard explain, to everybody else because it's easy to understand. Measure flat, calculate imaginary curve, got it. But when it's the topic of the year, it gets a lot clearer, and that's just been a good year.
Not only when it's the topic of the year, when it's literally the side that's arguing for curvature is saying that, that's when you know you got something. When they change their rhetoric about something, that's when you know you're on to something.
Exactly. That's why I think it's so important. The moment they start telling us, it's not even like this started. The moment we start recognizing that they're telling us Earth is okay to be measured flat. We only don't measure it sphere shaped because X, Y, and Z. But for this little bit that we do definitely measure flat and must be measured flat, it's okay. We can still be in a ball when we measure Earth flat. No. But you're telling us it's measured flat? I'll just accept that measurement is how we measure it then. And your belief can be ignored. Yeah,
Whose
about
birthday
time.
is it? Your birthday?
Say again? Say again, Chocolate.
Whose birthday was it? Is it yours?
Tomorrow it's my birthday, yeah.
Happy birthday, brother.
Oh, thank you very much.
Happy birthday, Nathan.
Oh, thanks. Like I say, I probably won't be live streaming tomorrow. But yeah.
Well, Chocolate wasn't around, so he doesn't know what happened. But according to Glowbusters, the show's falling apart. So this is part of it.
But this is it. Well, wouldn't that be ironic? Because I've literally got computer twitches. But Craig's here. You say hopefully you'll have word on whether or not we'll get a new chip on Wednesday. Is that right, Craig?
Yes, I was just asking. Yes, that is correct. I will speak to him Wednesday.
Perfect. Well, hopefully we'll get it sorted sooner rather than later, because I think it is actually reaching the point where it's the instability comes. I up the voltage and then it stays stable for a week or two. And yeah, I've been doing that more and more and more recently. So it's the gap between it going unstable is getting less and less now. So I'll just up again to 0.75, I guess, and we'll hope it carries on fine. I'm just a bit reluctant because I don't actually want it to pop. Although 0.75 over offset's not that much, is it? Kidding myself.
No, doesn't sound a lot.
It's not that much. It's just because of the heat. I bet it's just because it's a really hot day. And I've already massively overvolted the thing anyway, so yeah, it's probably why. It'll hopefully settle down. It's still dropping frames like mad. But this is going out to members only. But was everyone enjoying having a good moan about Globebusters then? Because that's what I was listening to while I was trying to get everything to work and fiddling with voltages and such.
Well, we were talking about the map that they seem to try to cling to, the AE map, and we were wondering why they are holding on to it so hard. I thought to myself, we are always asked for a map and a model, so I guess maybe they just picked theirs.
That just shows weakness. If some guy comes up to you and starts demanding that you give him X, why would you say, oh, I must just go and get X? Why? Why? Did I say I'd give it you? Why is this suddenly my responsibility to have a map? Because you say I've got to give you one. All right, paint my house. Well, no. What
I've
do you mean,
always
no?
liked that
Paint
one
my house.
when you tell them paint my house.
Well, I've got a desire for having a painted house, and you're there not doing anything. Why aren't you painting it? Why aren't you making a map? Because I'm not a bleeding cartographer. That's why. Meanwhile, all the maps have been developed, measured, and utilised with flat Earth elevation angles to the stars. That's how the systems operate. Do I need to make a map? No. The only reason I'd need to make a map is because you idiots believe you're on a globe, and to convince you you're on a globe, they converted all the flat systems onto globes and then projected them back out onto flat maps again, causing all sorts of distortions and issues. That's not my fault. Get rid of the globe conversion process, because it's not needed, and it causes distortions.
I'm sorry, were we talking about a map or were we talking about the ground?
Yeah, it's a reification fallacy if you think the map is the ground.
Yeah, some people need to hold on to their reification. So when somebody's talking to me, I'm not talking about a map. I'm talking about the ground that we all live on, that we all navigate on, drive around and live on. Like, what are you talking about, a map? And because I don't have a map, you think that somehow proves we live on a ball? Like, are you crazy? I don't know why they do that, man. That's insane.
What I can't get over is the irony of being criticised as having a show that's falling apart. Now, their Globebusters, that is, suggestion that this show is falling apart is based on, well, from what I've been told, Brian, Quantum Eraser, and myself arguing, which we do all the time. And then, by pure irony, I have a technical issue where it literally makes the show fall apart, like physically and literally. It stopped running. You're like, oh, bloody hell, the irony. They're not wrong. It is falling apart in the heat. Easily corrected. I got a warranty. Right, Michael Kahn, thank you very much for the super chat. Happy birthday for tomorrow. And then he's got Globebusters with a slap in my own face emoji. Thank you very much. Should have risked.
How do they know?
Hold on, I'm just going to risk putting a bit more of a complicated view on screen. See how many more frames it drops. I've only dropped 7,923 so far. It's only 26.7% of the show that's lost. Got warnings from YouTube. It's saying excellent condition now. Oh, well, maybe it's sorted itself out.
Welcome to my world. How do they know?
How do they know
it's falling apart? Because it's falling apart.
Because they watch. Because they watch.
They said they don't watch the show.
Yeah, they're liars. They not only watch, they watch to the point where they want to give us a few tips. You know, you guys, you need to stop falling apart at the seams when you argue with each other. Oh no, we're all right. We're talking about how Earth's measured flat and refining our arguments. Should we be an echo chamber and all agree with each other? No, we'd all be talking about ether, wouldn't we?
I was just going to say that. So let's all agree with ether, right, Bob?
Wait, hold on. We're falling apart because we argue with each other? So I guess we were falling apart since 2016, I guess. Like, are these people crazy?
From the beginning, right, Chocolate?
Yeah, bro. Like, what the hell? Oh, because we're not like Globebusters to just hold each other's nutsacks all day long, right? That's what it is. Is that what we should be doing? Kumbaya and all that, roasting marshmallows
Yeah,
all day.
yeah. They don't know the half of it. They
Exactly.
don't.
That's
know
only
the
what
half.
they're privy to.
Extended family members got dusted. If we were close to each other and had weapons, it would have been all over in 2016, 2017 for sure.
And now Brian would surely have shot Nathan.
No, not at all. That's friendly banter. I know you're saying it in sarcastic tones, but some people who are watching that won't realise that you're saying it sarcastically.
No, I'm serious. It was serious. Every single time it was pretty serious. But we knew where the line was. Sometimes we crossed it. A lot of times we crossed it, but we recovered. We were made stronger for it.
You're talking in bleed metaphors. What line? How did we walk over it? What are you talking about?
There's some lines that were crossed between, when everyone or some people would get heated, right? There's so many times I can't get a specific example, right? It's lost from my memory. But I can remember some knockdown, drag out fights, right? But we recovered from it. Next day, would make up and do it all over again.
Yeah, not even make up. It was forgotten the next day.
Yeah,
on to the next show.
That's the essence of the show, isn't it? Well, I said before.
People,
go on, Neil.
It's a family show.
Yeah, I was going to say, if people carried into the next day, the day before, there would be no show.
In every intro, you'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Now, that's directed at the guy that's got really angry and started swearing at us, which might be us internally. Same thing applies. Following day, hello, how's it going? There's a line beyond that line that can also be crossed. You get people like Brenda threatening to get your kids taken off you, at which point you're like, well, okay, well, you've crossed that line, get lost, never come back. Same with Rumpus. At the point that you've got called out on your overt lie that you've been telling for 6 years, and you double down and double speak round it 2 or 3 times consecutively in a row, when you're caught, it's like you no longer offer anything to anybody listening, do you? You're just a complete scumbag, disingenuous liar, and you're more than happy to own that lie? No, not at all. No, you'll just lie a bit more, and then lie a bit more, and then lie about the lie you've just told, and then retell the lie, and then say you haven't. Just get lost. There is a fine line that can be drawn after the initial line that gets crossed regularly. Therefore, to me, that isn't even a line.
I'm not talking about ball tarts. I'm talking about within our little circle over the years.
Yeah.
Heck, with the ball tarts been vanquished for years. I didn't pay attention to them. Just with us.
Yeah. Well, within any social structure, what you're calling as lines are kind of not arbitrary. They're just kind of social lines that you draw depending on each personality. There's going to be weaker personalities within the group that, from the outside perspective, you go, well, they get worse treatment. Yeah, they do. Why? Well, because they're an insubordinate. Well, how has that become? It's just the way it is. It's not like I've decided I'm this level and this stature and QE's decided it. These things fall into place naturally. I am the natural born leader of this group, and everybody understands and accepts that.
Yeah, exactly. And if you came in with a claim, if you made some comment that you couldn't support or back up, you got challenged. Whether it didn't matter who it was. If I did it, I got challenged, and I loved it.
I was going to say they're my favourite bits of the show. When someone on your own side, especially if they're a newbie, comes in and thinks, oh, you're a flat earther too. Oh, well, then let me shoulder up buddy with you about ether. Whoa. What the hell do you think you're doing? Suddenly you're our enemy. Only for the next hour. You'll be welcome back on the next stream. That's the
I told Randy, right, if you don't remember, right to his face, he should be hung by a friggin', I didn't say that, you know what I said, he should be hung by a friggin' yardarm.
Who, Ranty?
Yeah.
Yeah, internal discussions and debates. You know, sometimes we do fall
Oh
out.
no, I marked him quick. I wasn't too popular then, but people got the message quick.
Well,
snipped
Anthony
his
Riley's a very poor
dumbass
judge
out.
of character.
That's just one that I can recall that stood out. There's been so many. There's been thousands since what 2017. I don't know when was episode. I think I came on around episode 220, something like that. Can't remember.
Pretender clownism isn't a globe head affliction. It's a people thing, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. There's pretender clowns everywhere.
Right. So being a flat earther, in some people's mind, gets them a certain credibility or allegiance with a certain group. It's like, well, that may be true in other arenas. Certainly not here. Yeah, if you spout some truth, everyone's going to be cheering. If you pummel a fundy with that truth, everyone will be, raising you up on their shoulders. But spout garbage with pseudoscience to back it, and then just sort of nudge, you agree, right? No. Back that claim.
So I didn't listen to this clip. I don't know what you guys are talking about. So somebody will have to post it in Skype.
Jardo was stirring the pot.
Oh, my buddy Jardo. Did he timestamp it?
Let's see if it was stuck in. Has to be. Yes, it was. Yes, it does have a timestamp. Ooh.
So we were getting tips and advice. What? From Mo, Larry, and Scurvy.
What's this? No, that's my live stream. I thought someone had, it's because I've used the thumbnail for Globebusters and it looks like it's their link. Okay, I thought someone had dug it out for me. Clearly not. Oh, here we go. Globebusters episode 11.15. Try that.
I'll watch it later.
There's no timestamp on it. I'll give up. Well, I did suggest that people should let them know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, so at the very least I don't want to be a liar. There you go. There's my due diligence satisfied. In the link, in the members only live stream, there is a link to the Globebusters video. Whoever posted it me didn't actually post a timestamp to when they were criticising us about QE, Brian and myself falling out, according to Jardo. But there's a link. Please let them know if you're one of my members at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me. Just leave them a nice little comment. Hopefully they'll come back. The live stream did have or what would be my most condensed critique of Globebusters to date. You cover ether, you use pseudoscience, you claim people are frauds when they say science proves, and now you're going down to Antarctica to affirm the consequent and beg the question, like you did with Netflix. So I got all that in the live stream that did go out, so I'm happy with that.
Is that all they can? Is that all they can appeal to? Is us falling ass like some Nancys with their skirts blown up? Huh?
Yes.
Is that all you can do, globe dumpsters?
Exactly.
Clowns.
Sorry to cut you off. Just one sec. Imagine a world where John was content, pleasantly happy with everyone, and all having respect for mic discipline. Thank you for the super chat, Mike808. I'll read that again. Imagine a world where John was content, pleasantly happy, and with everyone and all having respect for mic discipline.
Yeah, Neil.
Excuse me? Exactly.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, correct.
Yeah, it's mad. Thinking about it, right, this computer's now 2 years old, or at least the chassis. All the main components have been changed now. But this behaviour that it's exhibiting now was exactly how it was when I first got it. Like, absolutely bonkers. Severely unstable. Just watching dropped frames and warning signs. You say, welcome to my world. Is that what your computer does?
Oh, when I'm doing a show and have YouTube Studio up, remember last couple times, I'm getting the bit rate's not kosher. Gonna slam their show. But you said don't worry about it, so I don't.
Well, you've either got enough processing power to run your show, or you haven't. And if you haven't, it'll run at the limits that it's got, and it'll just continue to do that. It'll just run slowly, which is, say, you go to load something and it takes ages, and you get the whirly whirl if you load a video, all of that kind of stuff, and you just got to deal with it, really. Whereas mine, it's infinitely more powerful than yours, no offense. It shouldn't do that. It's just a very unstable chip now. And it's my own fault. Well, it is and it isn't. You know, it should just work out of the box, but I should have turned the frequency down from day one rather than going, wow, 6 gigahertz. Wow, it looks cool seeing that number for a month until it degraded it. But I didn't know it would do that. You know, it's a manufacturing defect. So you can't know what you don't know, and, you know, after the fact saying, oh, it would have been good if I'd unlocked my cores automatically. Well, you don't know to do it unless someone shows you that they're degrading, and by then yours is degraded and that's life. So I'm not the only one. Everybody else has got issues with this particular range of CPU, so life's hard. Means lugging an enormous computer back down to Craig's shop so you can pop a new one in when it comes in. Fortunately, I'm going to have a couple of days off, so 8,500 drop frames later, I don't think it matters. This is members only, says Jeff. Yeah, if it does crash again, I just don't want to have the embarrassment of running live when I'm potentially not got a stable computer. I don't know why too. It's just overheating because I've turned the voltage up and 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 up to keep it stable. Every time it goes a bit unstable, I just turn the voltage up, and then it gets stable again for a week or two. So now it's super hot today. It's like this is how it behaved when I first got it. So it wouldn't necessarily be that the temperatures are hitting 100°C. It's only doing something very light. It's not actually doing very much. It's not running a game or anything. It's not running a rendering piece of software. But yet, whilst under a medium load, it's still hitting 70, 75°C. So something somewhere is just not quite right when it's under a medium load, which is how it used to behave when I first got it. It would be more likely to crash when you were doing something medium to light load than when you were running something really demanding, which was weird, but that's just how it is now. But I'm pretty 99.9% certain it is just because the chip's gone unstable through degradation. Otherwise, it wouldn't correct it every time I up the voltage. Anyway, very fascinating. I'll stop talking about it. It's because it's on my mind. I want to change the subject, or I'll talk about this computer all day long.
On the spot.
Empty.
Why do you think it's the AE map they're pushing so hard versus any other?
Familiarity, laziness, inability to research. It's a globe projection. Once you know that, that's it. It's never going to be a flat Earth map. It will always be distorted. Doesn't matter what they do. It's never going to be a flat Earth map. Now, the weirdest thing is, I would say the majority of the videographers that aren't globebusters and their compadres are already accepted that the AE map isn't the flat Earth map. And they go, I wouldn't want to stick my name next to it. I hear that more often than not. So, how many people do you know that go, oh yeah, absolutely, that's the flat Earth map? Unless they're really new, or Dave. Who says that?
I was going to say the only time that anybody pushes anything on me is when they want me to be led somewhere else, and including the map.
The only time someone's presenting AE maps to me is when my opponent wants me to hold it up in false dichotomy for them. That's it.
I've literally, for coworkers, when they have asked me about maps, which doesn't happen very often, but every once in a while they do, and I go literally to the definition of reification and give them the very example that it has, which is the map is not the territory. Okay, that's great, because what I'm talking about is the territory, the ground, the place where we live, not the map. And people, sometimes they don't really get that. So when you put it in their face and you show them like this is what you just asked me about is literally the example of a reification fallacy, they don't really like that. But I do.
Otherwise known as hypothesization, or the fallacy of misplaced concretedness, which has got a really nice ring to it, i.e. the concretedness is the map being the physical territory. And in the citation that I typically use for reification, it literally says, the map is not the terrain, as the example.
It's weird how like even events in the flat Earth community, I guess, they're kind of like microcosmic, or they're like small examples of the same crap we have to deal with in the chat.
Yeah. I mean, at my
Well,
home.
Like
Go on, chocolate.
I was just gonna say the problem with flat earthers is that they're also people. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
the same nonsense that some of them as Globers will do, they might do as a flat earther too. So that's always a problem.
I qualified that earlier. I said the bullshittery is a people problem. The pretender clownism is a people problem. And to be perfectly frank, I was afflicted with it until I met Quantum Eraser. If you don't know, better to just bullshit than look like you don't know. Well, actually, no. You're not better off just trying to fathom what you've got in your limited arsenal of knowledge if you don't really know. That's Dunning-Kruger, isn't it? Oh, I've got a limited amount of information on it. Maybe if I can piece that together into an answer, I'll do all right here. Now, that's how you expose yourself as being a pretender clown with your limited knowledge, aka Dunning-Kruger. But that's a people thing. People don't want to seem ignorant.
I was gonna say that's kind of how I started, I guess. I came around and I was like, what about the South Pole? Because that was the question I had. That was the one thing that I couldn't reconcile in my mind. And eventually I did get to the point where, some things are kind of, um, some things are fantasies from things that you have to understand better. And eventually, that's what I like about the show is, you stick to the facts, you repeat the facts because facts are facts. And eventually I do know what, pseudo-Riemannian means. I do know kind of how they got to a flat measurement, from a flat measurement to a ball, back to a cylinder, back to a flat. I, I'm going off on a tangent, but I appreciate it. And it's always been very good here for that.
Yeah, I went on a little hunt over the weekend over the weekend, last week I should say, for a decent picture of the way the azimuthal equidistant map is projected. Because I was editing a video of me describing it, and I automatically, through repetition, started describing the Gleason's projection, and then after describing it, then compared it to how you can project out in a semicircle from any point on the globe to get the azimuthal equidistant projection. So I did a half decent job, but what I didn't have was a diagram to go with it when I was editing it. So I think I found one though. I found several to show in a kind of visual way how that tube would show itself, or how it looks almost like a flower top of a globe when you do the azimuthal equidistant projection methodology. It does look very weird to describe it verbally, but it's obvious when you see it what's happening in terms of how they're projecting from a point and out into this semicircle that becomes the flat plane at the top of it. So it's sort of inverted downwards into the globe, the projection methodology, that is. So yeah, it's hard to describe with words, but easy to see when you've got a diagram of how these projections work off the globe surface after taking flat Earth measurements with latitude and longitude.
But we don't have diagrams when we're arguing with somebody, especially face to face about something. So it's very good to keep hammering it, keep hearing it, keep saying it, because it gets more obvious every time, and I appreciate that part.
I think it gets more obvious for our side of the argument that we're a bit like Brian and Quantum Eraser and myself when we just don't want to accept things that sound too good to be true, or we haven't necessarily confirmed them to our own satisfaction, which is more likely the most often encountered scenario. Something new comes up. The person presenting it is definitely more versed in it. Well, not always, but most likely more versed in it than the person they're telling. Now, the person who's telling it through their ignorance wants to challenge it to learn more about it. In other words, if I can pick a flaw in this, there's a good chance as the person exposes how that's not a flaw, I'll gain a better understanding through inquiring or picking fault, where there may not be any. Now, that may result in the person getting a bit irate. Well, you don't even understand this subject. How dare you challenge it? Yeah, that's life. Yeah, you're going to get people who don't know anything about your subject challenging you when they don't know anything about your subject, but that's life. But for the person who doesn't know anything about the subject, it's highly beneficial because they get to learn on the fly if the person who's telling them is willing to accept their challenge and correct them. The other problem is that if the person that's presenting the information, this is what happens in other areas of our flat earth arena, let's just call it, they'll pretend to know what they're talking about and then whistle past anything that they don't, or alternatively, even worse, just make it up on the spot. Utilise some of their heliocentric knowledge and just incorporate it into their new flat earth realm that they've created on a azimuthal equidistant projection for potential argument's sake. Yeah, I think the overall subject we're talking about is why would generally people want to do that? It's because people want to be conciliatory, they want to be helpful. So when someone from the opposing side says, well, have you got a map to help me find my way in this discussion? Me, as a selfish individual, goes, I don't care if you find your way in this subject. I know what it is. You can either listen to me or not. Now, other people, far more empathetic people, go, oh, you need help? Oh, let me help you with this map. They rip it from your hands and go, look how this doesn't work. Actually, it came from a globe to begin with, therefore I win. So, while people are empathetic to the misfortune of ignorant globe believers and feel the need to help them out in their endeavours, I don't feel compelled in the same manner.
It is weird when they say, this is a flat map, but this is a globe map. And then they'll tell you it's wrong. And then they'll tell you they use it. And then they tell you it's yours when you tell them it's wrong.
Yeah. It's the same. It's easier if you use the sky. There's not a single person here who's going to be able to tell me what it is, other than describe where we point when looking at it, or what we see between us and it. None of us really know what that is. The blue bit or black bit, whatever you want to call the sky. We've got very limited understanding of what it is, now that we're flat earthers. So, there's a presumption that the person on the opposing side, when you tell them that they don't have a sky vacuum as they've been led to believe, debunk it with the second law of thermodynamics, there will be an immediate reaction from the opponent to ask you what it is as a replacement. Now, in the wise words of Whitsitt the Great, debunking something doesn't need a replacement. Falsification is independent of substitution. You don't have to replace that which you debunk with anything else. And because as a human being you feel compelled to find the answers to things you don't know, especially when they're glaring, or as overarching in figurative and literal terms as the sky, you want to know. There's a desire. So when someone asks you a perfectly reasonable question, well, what is it then? Your instinct is compelled to make you answer, or feel stupid if you don't have one. Well, if I can't answer what they already know is the sky vacuum, if I can't offer an alternative, they're not going to relinquish. I don't care if they relinquish their sky vacuum first and foremost. Believe it all you like, you dumbo. Go ahead, go in peace. Yeah, sky's a vacuum. Yeah. We traverse through this high pressure gas. We go into a vacuum, wave goodbye at the carbon line, and then take snapshots of the gas not filling the space we've just entered. Yeah. You want to believe that? Good for you. I don't feel compelled to tell you what the sky is as a replacement. Once you've accepted that your sky vacuum is debunked. Go ahead.
What that double speaker says, what a train wreck of a clown he is. In one breath, he says, falsification is independent of replacement. And not 30 seconds later calls himself an alternative cosmologist. It's the biggest goof of all time. He doesn't even realize it. He's not much of a moron. That's just one. That's not even a tip of the iceberg with that numpty idiot.
There's no need. Whitsit's sharp enough, or he seemed sharp enough when we first encountered him, to not need the aspect of bullshittery he's leaning on.
You'd think somebody smart that says in one breath, falsification is independent of replacement, and in the very next breath calls himself an alternative cosmologist. Yeah, he's a sharp tool, all right.
Cool, yeah. Either way, I've made this stream public now, so it's no longer members only, now that it seems to be reasonably stable, my computer that is. I think it's because the temperature's dropped by about 5 degrees in the last 10 minutes, or last 20 minutes. Which is good. No longer dropping any frames. Happy enough to go live again. Good, good, good. So as it turns out, Globebusters were right. The show is falling apart at the seams through instability of a CPU. So what do you know? It's nothing to do with QE and Brian and myself having arguments, which is kind of the nature of the show. It's actually just silicon instability that's ruining it.
Did you say they were gonna? They tried to offer us some tips.
Tests? No.
Yeah, tips. I heard somebody said that they offered us some tips.
No, well, that might have been my spin on
Tips
it.
on how to get along.
I don't know. I heard somebody say it.
Seems more like wishful thinking. You know, we come along and say, you guys aren't using science. You're calling me a fraud or a scammer because I say science proves, which it absolutely unequivocally does. The silicon itself wouldn't exist if it wasn't for the cause and effect reasoning in the scientific method, offering us scientific validity and an advancement in humanity in the form of quantum mechanics. Those sorts of scientific endeavours are entirely based on a methodology that proves things, and can only prove things. What's that you say, Jaren? I'm a scammer. Really? What's that you also say? 6 months later? Really important experiment in Antarctica? Oh dear. Now, if somebody's out there like me saying that, your best bet is to poison the well. Tell the audience that the show's falling apart, rather than addressing the bullshittery, pseudoscience and scammery that's going on over on Globebusters. You know, they're in cahoots with scammers, people who are lying about having experiments. In fact, they're backing them up and being supported by the Globe heads as they do it. Yeah, so best to tell their audience that my show's falling apart and that me, QE, and Brian are falling out. Rather than address the bullshittery, affirming the consequent, begging the question fallacy, antipodal assumptions, former Netflix endeavours that use the same fallacies, claims of experiments, that's fraud. But yeah, just say me and Brian are falling out. Yeah. Very, very telling. I'm just glad to have a couple of extra people watching. Good to have you here, Jaren. Good to have you here, Dave, if you're listening. Hey, Witsit, leave us a like. Maybe share the show. Thanks for watching. See if I can send somebody your way. Maybe we can get Jaren's views up.
They're going to give us some advice. It's tantamount to Mr. Magoo, Baby Huey, and Elmer Fudd giving tips to Tiger Woods on his backswing out there in the gallery. That's what that's tantamount to, you glue-sniffing fungus munchers.
Speaking of being telling, I got an unexpected copyright strike on one of my videos. I'm like, what the hell? So I go in, thinking, oh, what have I accidentally played for 15 minutes when I'm in the loo or something? You know, this isn't right. So I go in, and it's a video response that we did a while back to 32. And I'm looking at it going, I remember doing that. I remember going through it and being hypercritical. No, there's no show tomorrow. Thank you for the super chat, Sensual Goat. It says show tomorrow, Tuesday. No, it's my birthday. So, I mean, the only reason I would go on live, all I'd be tempted to do is constantly beg and moan about my overdraft. So rather than doing that, I'm going to go and get a haircut and just be ill for a day. Anyway, back to 32. So they sent me this copyright strike, and I thought, well, I'll go back. I'll actually do what YouTube suggests, which is they give you all the tools to go back in and assess each of the bits that they've claimed you've infringed on their copyright with. So I go in, press play on the first marker that YouTube give me. And within the first 6 seconds of 42 speaking, I pause and comment and then play again. And then within another, I don't know, at the most 8 seconds, you know what we're like, I point out that he's used an example that demonstrates a false comparison fallacy. And then a play again. And then there's a comment again. And so it goes on, right? It's a normal response video. Obviously and unequivocally fair use. So I'm going through this list of all the markers where his video's been played. And I'm thinking, man, this is about as egregious as Disney, where if you use but a few seconds of their video, no, that's copyright. It's like, who do you think you are? This is you being bitter. So you've laid a copyright strike on me. Now, typically, if I sense that this is being done automatically, I'll just think, sod it, I don't care. It's one video out of 5,000 or whatever many I've got, and it doesn't really matter. But in this instance, I'm like, this seems vexatious. Like, your video is, this is 42's video, is specifically about, is the Earth flat or not? So when we respond to that, that is 100% on topic, 100% justified, and there's absolutely no reason to abuse the copyright system to suggest that it's anything other than fair use when we directly respond as flat earthers to his video about Earth being flat or not, with commentary galore over the top of his video after listening to him and responding to him. So, like, what a joke. But as I was writing the response, saying this is clearly fair use, this is me pointing out a fallacy, this is me pointing out celestial navigation, this is, you know what I mean, highlighting the full shebango. I'm thinking, this is just literally, as I put it, vexatious. They are put out, their nose has been put out, because we've challenged their view on flat Earth. And as a, I don't know, probably 5 million or many, many more subscribers than me. But as far as YouTube's concerned, a bigger channel. Suddenly you can throw your weight around and start copyright striking people because they've, had the nerve to play 15 seconds of your video and then talk about it. Like, what a joke. So yeah, I've sent I didn't actually send it off to them yet. I've sent it to Adam and said, this is what should I just read it? I'll read it for my audience, why not? This is what I was going to put. Like I said, I've sent it on to Adam and he's on holiday, so I doubt he's had a chance to have a quick look at it, but I'll probably just send it as is. Obvious commentary on the video, clear and obvious to everyone that this is fair use and is not a copyright violation as is being claimed. Detailing such examples as, quote, false comparison fallacy and other criticism of the original video. Original video is played, open brackets, for very limited periods of time, close brackets. Commentary is given by myself and 2 separate guest panels of other people, G+, and Discord, who also offer criticism of the idiotic views and opinions of the original videographers. Then further section is played, then commentary, then commented on in the same way. This is a reaction video offering commentary and is therefore fair use. Why it has even been claimed is beyond me. Either an overzealous globe believer who doesn't like being challenged, or automatic algorithmic favouritism offered regardless of the rules of fair use, which this obviously is. Furthermore, the Earth is measured flat with elevation angle measurements of the longitude and latitude system used in navigation. This overriding point is addressed in the reaction video, and is the very subject of the video being responded to. One can only assume the claimant's hope was that this collective commentary on ignorant views and lack of Earth measurement comprehension would be removed. Alas, this is simply an abuse of the copyright system in an attempt to silence people when responding with the protection of fair use. Earth is flat. People will react to your videos. Abusing the copyright system is telling. Maybe the next step is to double down on the ability to abuse the copyright claim system. Feel free. You aren't Disney. Or perhaps you are so incredibly stupid that you think this is a legitimate copyright claim. And then I put a few emojis, which I should really get as it's a proper legal document. I'll go with the latter. Just dumb. Like was stated in the reaction video being claimed. To summarise, this isn't a copyright violation. Commentary is covered under fair use. Be less stupid in videos and people like me won't have to respond with fair use of the offending idiocy continued in this vexatious claim. That was my response. I only had 2,000 words. That was as much as I could cram into those 2,000 words. Right, big, massive shout out to Duncan McLeod, who says, happy birthday for tomorrow. Get yourself a steak. I may well do exactly that, Duncan. Thank you so much. I like a filet. My wife makes a good filet mignon. Thank you for the super chat. There you go. Like I say, I'll get that sent off once I've got Adam to actually read it through, make sure there's no spelling errors, and remove the garbage that doesn't need to be in a legal document, which is most of it. Even when they're not the full-on, this is a copyright strike, you may lose your channel. It's one of those, this is a copyright strike, but it isn't really. We just want all of the money from your video. It'll still be up. People can still watch it, but we'll get paid. Like, why? Because I've played 15 seconds of your video and then commented on it. Oh, right. Well, obviously you should get all the money from that video. How dare you? No, thank you. Do you get that from time to time, QE, where people copyright strike you? Or
Yeah, it's yeah, especially with the treatments, because the idiots that I'm doing the treatment on will have some music or something in the beginning, and I miss it. I just, it doesn't matter.
Well, it matters to me. I've got to pay my family bills and all the rest of it, keep food on the table. So when people actually take food out of my mouth with a copyright strike, I feel really aggrieved.
Sure, I can understand that. Yes.
But yeah, like I say, sometimes I let it slide, sometimes I don't. This is one of those times that I'm like,
Huey's not in it for the money like some people.
I am in here for the money. I'm a YouTuber. I'm here for the money. Anybody unaware that I'm here to pay my mortgage and keep food on the table, well, then let it be known, yes, I am here to make money. And I work 10 times harder than almost everybody else in this arena. Now, it might be the case that in spite of my 10x effort, I'll only get, let's say, 2 or 2.5x the views of someone like Jaren with 1/4 the subscriber base, or less, 1/5 the subscriber base. But that just is how it is. Some people have to work 10 times harder in life to achieve just twice as much as next man. Yeah? That's how it goes sometimes. I'm not moaning. I've dedicated my life to this channel so I can praise the word of Flat Earth to the people and let them know. Thank the Lord I can actually put food on my table with it in a very limited capacity. I'm very grateful for that.
How dare you get paid for working?
How dare you get paid for putting 19 hours a day into your YouTube channel? Did any of you catch any of the videos I released over the weekend?
I just got back.
You were probably involved in a good chunk of them in terms of, you were actually there. For example, this one. This is called The Curvature of Level.
If you want to measure the curvature of level, then you
don't measure the curvature of level! Metabunker's got surface level flat. No, he's now talking through me. You immediately address the words as opposed to what Metabunk's doing with surface level. That gives you parallel eye level for height of eye above the surface level. That's what the maths functions as. Furthermore, without surface level having no part higher or lower than the other, as per every other definition of level, it wouldn't be able to describe the curve of the diagrammatical spherical bit because you wouldn't have a horizontal line to have it deviating from. You can only describe the variation from the horizontal if horizontal remains level as opposed to curving in your definition. If it does, as per your definition, curve, that's level, curves, then surface level in this diagram isn't surface level anymore and the maths fails.
Your
citation's wrong.
It only supports it.
No,
Because
surface level is level in this Metabunk maths. It doesn't support it. Don't make baseless assertions that ignore what I've just said. Okay, so Mick West's Metabunk... Was it here, just to elaborate on what's going on for the audience's benefit. Feel free to pipe in from the Discord server, because I've got as much of this video as I want to play. Obviously, I don't want to play my own material constantly through on this live stream, but I did want to get to this point for the audience's benefit. So you can see on screen the person who's debating me saying, look, what I've said supports my position. And his position is that surface level is, as per the Merriam-Webster definition, comporting with the water of Earth around the outside edge of a sphere-shaped surface. That's what they're describing level as by definition in Merriam-Webster. Now, the fact that in the same very definition it contradicts itself and says it's having no part higher or lower than the other is kind of brushed past by the sphere believer because they want to focus on the latter part of the definition. But the latter part of the definition violates a principle that's used in their own Earth curve mathematics. So if you're going to say, okay, well, yeah, we understand that we have to measure Earth level, but level means curving. Well, no, here we are in Metabunk Earth curve maths, same as every other Earth curve maths in terms of how they're derivable from the surface level and the eye level. That's what's actually being utilised. Or to put it another way, like everything, Earth's being measured flat with surface level. And as an axiomatic principle, it must be level. It can't be moving around a spherical surface because otherwise the curve that's being described in orthographic view in Earth curve maths cannot deviate from the horizontal if horizontal isn't level. So surface level is unequivocally level and isn't moving around a sphere surface. But for the fundy, they want level to be curved. That's where you end up with the start of this video.
Yeah, if you want to measure the curvature of level,
then you'll struggle because curving isn't leveling. But they need it to be. It needs to violate the axiomatic principle of being level because they haven't got a level surface to measure. And when they do, they want the levels to be curves. Shout out to Uncut. For as woman came from man, also man is born from woman, but everything comes from God. 1 Corinthians 11:12. Happy birthday, Nathan. Oh, well, thank you.
Do they hear what they say when they say that? The curvature of level? Are you serious?
I want people to hear it more and more, Neil. I want people to hear the globers saying, yes, we can measure Earth flat, because they're the ones that have actually looked into how Earth is measured and cognitively apologise for why it isn't ball-shaped, and then it's all good. But what they've told us from the globe side, we've had 6 examples so far, is from people who've actually looked into how it's measured, accepted that it must be a flat surface that's being measured, declare that, and then apologise why it isn't ball-shaped. Well, for the ones on the flat Earth side, they went, no, this is too good to be true. I can't just say Earth's measured flat. Yeah, you can. Anybody who looks into it and tries to explain how their ball is justified will explain to you that Earth is measured flat, followed by a presentation about how ball-shaped it didn't need to be when they measured it flat. It's far more effective hearing our opponents say it. Wouldn't you agree? I've seen a lot more, you know you are, people in other people's videos commenting about Earth being measured flat. Just throwing that one line in there, are you? Good. Yeah, you should. Know it. It's the case. It's a fact. Far easy to digest that fact if your opponent's telling you. When a globe says, globe Earth believer says, yeah, we measure Earth flat. Locally flat. Yeah, sorry, I thought we measured foreign. Show me the foreign measurements of Earth then. Oh, locally, like the only way you can measure anything ever? I like to do remote measurements. I phone in somebody in Japan and I say, if I run my tape measure along my floor, can you tell me how big yours is? It's a remote measurement. Yeah, locally flat, that locally bit isn't helping you, globe believers. Yeah? If you think that strapping the word local on somehow means that, well, if we're measuring it locally flat, it means locally globe. No, it doesn't. It means no measurements beyond the flat ones that you will use to claim you're on a globe. You'll still have those flat measurements as the starting point. There are no globe measurements, only the flat ones that you seem to think, hey, it's okay to measure it flat. It's okay. No worries, it's just locally. It's just measured that way. Hello? It's always been measured flat. This is the key to getting the vast majority of normies to actually reconcile the fact that Earth is measured flat. Because it is. And if they can believe in their mind that, well, I already knew that, well, then good for you. Let's give Where's Wally as an example. He's sharing his pain daily in my comments at the moment. Over and over again, parroting off how it is okay to measure it flat. That's fine. Okay, yeah, I agree. You can keep telling me how, because we measure it flat, it is actually ball-shaped by my belief. You can keep telling me that till you're blue in the face. and I'll just keep repeating what you tell me. Yes, it's okay to measure Earth as a flat plane, but it's only locally. Yeah, it is, yeah. Yeah, we measure Earth flat locally, yeah, good. No globe measurements whatsoever. Just the calculations after those flat Earth measurements that we all use. But we already knew about, including our globe opponents. Like I say, much more effective to get it told to everyone by them. Out to Phoenix Rising 86. We can critique Good Times for All and his parlour trick using the helium tank to claim ether gravity, as I tried to correct the echo chamber known as Globebusters and was blocked from commenting. Thanks. I see. So Phoenix Rising has tried to critique the parlour trick that is Zachary Zabala utilising a helium balloon to suggest that they have ether gravity. I see. Where do we begin? Has anyone seen this before we go on? Thanks for the super chat, by the way, Phoenix Rising. I vaguely remember it from a long time ago. I mean, rather than critiquing Zachary Zabala specifically, a general understanding of how the scientific method works is a better tool for undoing anybody, not just Zach, when they assert that they've got some sort of experiment. Well, in that case, yes, it's a parlour trick. Well, how do you know? Because a scientific endeavour would have a hypothesis, because the actualisation of said hypothesis is the experiment. That's what an experiment is. It's a hypothesis test. So you need a hypothesis. And if you know what a hypothesis is, it's only got two constituent parts, an independent and a dependent variable. If you know what they are, one of them is established at the first step of the method. That's observe a natural phenomena, also known as your dependent variable, making up half of the hypothesis. The other half being your supposed causal influencer, the thing you think will cause that effect if you vary it. So you vary A and see if B happens in the experiment. And in your hypothesis, there's a zero difference outcome. Part of the prediction is to say that if you vary A, B won't happen. And if that is the case, you vary A, nothing happens, you don't induce the phenomena you're studying in the first place, then you've confirmed your zero difference result. You've proven that outcome. A will never cause B, or it would have caused B when you varied it. So you prove that outcome. Now, alternatively, and in the name of the hypothesis itself, the alternative hypothesis, you would endeavour to validate that prediction. You're only trying to prove the cause, not prove that your assumption's wrong. That's the less desirable outcome. Still useful. You still proved it isn't that. But you want to prove that your independent variable does cause the effect. You want it to induce the phenomena. You want to validate it as the causal influencer. Because once you know, you can advance humanity with that scientific understanding. Proven by way of the methodology of varying and manipulating that which you assume causes the effect you studied in nature, providing it is formulated into the hypothesis as your presumed cause, real and capable of being varied as an independent variable by you, the researcher. If it meets those criteria, is varied by you and lots of other people, because it's part of the process, the systematic experimentation stage, every single instance, if it's an actual viable and practically validated experiment, will always show the same result. A will always cause B. Well, like I say, once you've proven the alternative, you can move forward to form a theory and advance humanity with that information, as has been the case with every single scientific endeavour ever, because that's what it does. Prove things. Now you know that, you can look at Zachary Zabala and go, what's the phenomena that's being studied? If it's a claim that all things tend towards the ground with an incoherent dielectric accelerative force, known as ether gravity, then we'd need to observe that as a phenomena as step one. First, we need to see it occurring in nature. Oh, it happens when Zach does his little parlour trick? Does it? Oh, interesting. Where did it occur in nature? Oh, we don't experience that in nature, quite the contrary. As I look around me now, nothing is tending towards the ground. Literally nothing. But I understand and appreciate that gas is continuously being released from the ground and expanding into the area of volume available to it dispersing through the gaps in the other gases that are already in existence in that area, away from the ground, up. Don't believe me? See that little phase change going on in the sky called a cloud? Well, that would be an example of gas moving away from the ground. So what's this ether gravity? Ignored by gas, is it? You know, this is exactly the same debunking as the normal globe Earth gravity that is only in place to delude you that you can stick to a spinning water ball with antipodal positioning that's assumed in experiments that aren't experiments also. Well, that assumption isn't necessary on a flat plane. The fact that some things go up, some things go down, some things remain neutral is a second-order effect of entropy. Given that Brian and Dr. John D and Adam and myself and various other people can argue all day long about what would be the, quote, cause of this, at the end of those discussions, you can come to a coherent decision about how this should be phrased in terms of what it actually is. If you have a displaced, non-equilibrium scenario where something does move through the air downwards, or alternatively, in the case of gas, upwards, that can be described as a phenomena and validated with a causal influencer. It's been done. Anthony Riley did it about 5 years ago. But when it comes to the why does entropy occur, you'll never know. We will never know why. And if we try and get to the beginning of entropy, do you know where you end up? Slurping down that last gulp of natural science to realise that there's a God waiting for you at the bottom of that glass. That's where it leads you. If there must be a start, there must be an outside influence that will create that, aka a creator. There is no other way. The alternative in false dichotomy, although I think QE phrases it and repositions it into a true dichotomy when he positions it as an evidence, but when they put it to me, it's a false dichotomy as far as I am concerned. To suggest that one alternative is a violation of the first law of thermodynamics, and that nature, something which cannot create or destroy the energy that is already contained within the nature system that we describe, created itself. No, the Big Bang is complete sham. There, through the validation of things like quantum mechanics, where we can see the external supernatural influence that must occur for physical actuality to occur for us to experience, you can only conclude that there must be an external influencer to create what we experience in our physical realm. Something supernatural beyond that. Why? Because we have information. That cannot exist without that prerequisite knower to begin with. There is a creator, and that's where you end up if you study entropy. But in terms of relative density disequilibrium and displacement within various mediums, you can ascribe the causal influencer, as I just did, to the medium and the item within it and its density. Validated scientifically, useful, practically applied, and has been for many, many centuries. Not really that discoverable anymore. We already knew. Now, what you can do is take those effects, second order effect of entropy, otherwise known as relative density disequilibrium if you're studying an effect, or if you're not, just relative density. You can take that effect, hijack it, and claim, in the case of Einsteinian mechanics, that there is a shifting of the values at zero. So 0 is not you not moving, 0 is you falling from the sky at 9.8 meters per second. Because that's 0. 0G! And when you're sat doing nothing, you're at 1G, obviously stuck to a ball. Now, that's not because it's a force, it's a bent pseudo-Riemannian space-time in conceptual geometry invented by a man named Einstein, but don't worry your precious little head about that. Just fall back on your high school education that it is a force holding you to the ball. So why does Zachary Zabala need this force? Oh, well, because he's got a grift with the rest of the Globebusters, hasn't he? He's got a infinite energy from a sky source called ether. And in order to justify this garbage, he needs to create parlor tricks with second-order effects of entropy being described as though they're a force of down. Total garbage, backed up by parlor tricks. Man, you got your money's worth there, didn't you, out of that super chat? Thank you once again for the super chat, Phoenix Rising. Hopefully I covered every aspect. If not, just let me know. You don't have to super chat again. Just let me know in the comments if you did want anything else covering in that regard. Also, this is the second time around because my computer crashed earlier. So 76 people watching. Please share the show on Facebook and Twitter if you've not done so already. Facebook and X. Just 2 clicks. Share. Anything else we're going to cover? You enthusiastic lot?
Yeah, play that Ballbusters video. Somebody get a timestamp. Hey, Jado, why are you giving a whole 3-hour video without any timestamps? What's up with that?
Made this mistake before, which is to say now we'll hang around for 25 minutes with hardly any talk because people are expecting us to play a video at any moment. Nothing's queued up, so hopefully that doesn't kill the conversation.
I mean, what were you thinking?
What were they thinking?
No, what was Jado thinking?
Yes, I know, but I'm trying to take it away from what Jadu's doing because he's Jadu. It's my bunged up nose. It's not because I can't speak English.
I thumbed through it, but it's over 3 hours, right?
Yeah, and we'll probably get to the bit that's important, and they'll have just said exactly what Jado told us already, which is they said, oh, the guys on FED are falling apart. Brian and QE and Nathan are always arguing. All falling apart at the seams. All right, okay. Well, thanks for watching. What about that fraud? What about that science that's not? No response to that. That's all we'll do. We've already done it.
What about you can't have experiments because it's got a man-made device in it? Shit's it. Clown.
The parameters, man.
I'm going to
It's
do
what?
it.
What? Don't you
The
go anywhere.
parameters.
It's the parameters.
Parameters of what?
I don't know. Some nonsense Sherman was complaining about one time. I don't even remember now.
But the damn bulb or globe dumpsters video is not even in here. I'm gonna have to go search this thing up.
Okay, well, while you're doing that, I'm going to do a little plug. So I was asked a while back if I would do the Flat Earth Meetup, Flat Earth Meetup UK, and this is arranged by Ian Leahy. So he's had Mark Sargent put out a little promo. Thank you very much, Mark Sargent, for doing that. Really appreciate it. And he's put it out. So it is on the 27th. So I'll let this video play because it gives all the information while I'm talking about it. So yeah, so be here or be sphere on August the 27th at 7 p.m. Down in Bournemouth. So as you can see, it's a very pretty part of the woods. If you are in the south of England and you did want to shake my hand, talk about flat Earth for a bit, Ian has promised a presentation. I've prepared absolutely nothing, and that will always be the case when I go and do these things. It'll be completely done on the fly, but that's no problem. If I can produce a 4-hour show daily, I'm sure I can manage to entertain people for a couple of hours talking about flat Earth. No issues. So, yeah, but you don't expect me to be there with a clipboard and reading off notes that I've prepared for you as an individual. I'll probably gauge the audience. That is to say, see who's in there. Are they family members that have brought newbies along because they want them to get the basics? Or is it all advanced flat Earth understanders? Or is it a whole bunch of globeheads that want to be detractors and show me how wrong I am in the moment? So rather than actually forming a presentation, I'm going to gauge who's there in the moment, get an idea of who's who, what they want to get out of the session. And it might be that I just end up talking to people individually and then doing 10 minutes of introductions before I do exactly that. But in any event, it'll be a good time. He's done plenty of them in the past. I've had a flick through a few of them that he's done in the previous Flat Earth Socials, as he calls them. But yeah, it's at the Bridge House Hotel, which is in Ferndown. So if you're in the UK and you did need a postcode to get there, BH22 9AN. It's the equivalent of our zip code system here in the UK. But that'll take you straight to that building. And as I say, that's on Tuesday, the 27th of August at 7 p.m. So be here or be sphere for the Flat Earth Social organised by Ian Leahy. And big shout out to Ian for organising those things. Can't wait to see you. It's a £5 on the door, so it's not exactly expensive. And he's promised me half the door. I was like, I can't go, I can't afford it. And he's like, I'll give you half the door. I'm like, Okay, then. I am that poor. I'm not going to say no. So it's not very much to get in anyway. It's only a £5. But yeah, so Be Here or Be Sphere at the Bridge House Hotel in Ferndown, which is in Dorset. I said Bournemouth. It's Dorset. My folks live in Bournemouth, which is why I said that. Anyway, that's them, and that's us, and I'll be there, and Ian will be there, and hopefully fun will be had by all. See you there on the 27th.
But Nathan, what's the latitude there for people who want a celestial navigation to get there?
I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to check.
Can't celestial navigation to get to a point. Celestial navigation is all about where you are.
Yeah.
Follow?
How locally flat is it around the pub?
Yeah, there might be a bit of a misapprehension in terms of what celestial navigation in that regard is actually achieving. You're trying to achieve a fix where you are. When you're measuring these angles to these 3 different stars, and let's say they're all equal distant about a flat circle that you're measuring through. So what I'm saying is, on the ground, there's a flat circle, and you're going to rotate, I don't know, 60 degrees to your left and 80 degrees to your right and completely behind you. So you're like making a Mercedes symbol on the ground in terms of the stars that you point at, if that makes sense. So you're pointing out in 3 different directions, and you're shooting angles to all of these different stars. Obviously, not at the same time. Unless you've got 3 sextants, you might be. But each star that you shoot, you're going to measure the angle after calibrating your device, leveling your device, and then shooting that star. And then you'll say, once you've got the angle and it's accurate and you've rocked the device, you've got it exactly how you want it, you then say, mark, get the time, measure the angle, and write it down. Now, once you've got 2 or 3, I'm not going to label why it'd be 2 or 3, but let's just stick to 3, star positions in the sky, you're then drawing out circles with respect to the point on the ground that you measured to. That's the ground position. So you've got a point below each of those stars on the flat ground you've measured the angle to. That's its ground position. Now from there, you can draw a circle, and the outside edge of the circle at some point is where you are. Now, if you've only got 1, you could be anywhere on that circle. Now, when you've got 2, there's like a Venn diagram, right? You've got an overlapping circle with another overlapping circle, and you've then got 2 points on those 2 circles, one of which is where you are. Now, if one of those happens to overlap land and you're in a boat, you don't need the 3rd circle. You already know where you are because you've eliminated one of the 2 positions of those 2 circles. But if you haven't, you've just got, well, it could be at this position or that position, then you need the 3rd star. Because at that point, you've then got 3 circles of equal elevation, and the point of intersection for the 3 circles will only meet at one place, which is where you are on the map. Now, from there, you can figure out which direction you need to be going, because you know where you are then. That's the purpose of it, finding your fix, as opposed to there's an idea that, well, are you trying to find Jesus below the star over there? No, that's not how it's working.
I guess was trying to ask, what's the coordinates to get to the place?
Yeah, I got what his question was. Yeah, he's just saying what's the latitude of the pub in Bournemouth, in Dorset rather. And I don't know.
I'll do my best to be there.
I'm not too concerned about getting there by boat or about losing my way or needing to know the exact latitude of the location. I'm quite confident with the satellite navigation that I'll use to find my way to the pub. If not, I'll probably know it anyway, just because I'm reasonably familiar with that area of the UK. But I'm not too concerned that I'll be suddenly drifting at sea, not being able to find my way back to Bournemouth. But should I ever find that's the case, I mean, I guess I could look it up. Okay, well, on that note of silence...
It should be easy easy to find on the map.
Again?
It should be easy to find on the map.
We have postcodes here. Our postcode system will get you to the building, pretty much, in most instances.
Exactly, and that's based on the map. It's based on the system of Cartesian system,
Yeah, each of those postcodes is assigned to a particular, longitude, and latitude position on the Cartesian grid system known as the Picata projection. Right, on that moment of silence, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow.
I'm not seeing it.
What aren't you seeing?
Anything in chat, if in reference to any of us, I'm not seeing it.
Reference to us?
Yeah, because I can't play this stupid 3-hour video in clips to find out where the part is.
You can't find anybody in comments going, oh yeah, those flat earth debate guys.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I mean, this is going to be down to you over the next couple of days, QE. You've got a live show tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I'm going to have to do this afternoon. Oh, joy.
Oh, just stick it on double time. That's what I do. If I've got something lengthy, even if I haven't, to be honest, just stick it on 2x speed. Just stick it in the background until you mentioned.
There's a transcript for that episode. You might be able to search through there.
Yeah, that's another alternative. Just bring the transcript up.
And they don't do that anymore. I can't. Where do you find the transcript at?
Got to be in a. You can't do it.
If you open the description under the bottom, on desktop.
Yeah, you got to do it on a desktop on Chrome or something.
Yeah, I'm on a desktop on Chrome.
And it's in the 3
So
dots.
Open the description and down the bottom it says show transcript.
Yeah. Okay, the 3 dots doesn't work anymore. I've tried that little maneuver. It used to work back in the day, but it doesn't work anymore. It's not there.
It is still there. It's underneath the info box. You tell him, because I haven't got it in front of me to tell him, whereas you sound better than I do. Sound like you know more than I do, rather.
So the description box, you click the more thing and it expands out, and down the bottom under transcript it says show transcript, and it should pop up on the side like the chat does.
Oh, you follow using. I see it. Look at you. I never go into the description box.
Very useful.
And type find, right? Yeah, like the old days.
Also useful when it's whizzing by at double speed and you think you've heard something that's interesting, rather than having to pause it and scroll back and go, what did they say? Just scroll down the transcript while it's still playing and just have a quick read of what they just said, and then go, oh no, that wasn't of concern, and then just let it carry on playing.
I put your name in it. It's old Nathaniel. I should have started from the beginning.
I'll tend to do that when I'm looking for show mentions. So if I search Flat Earth Debate and a couple of videos come up that seem like, well, are they actually covering the show? And then I'll double check, or me, if I type in Nathan Oakley and search that. And then there's a video that comes up, be like, are they actually mentioning me in this video? So you scrub through it. Go, no, they're not.
Nothing on you, Nathan. They must not have mentioned your name. QE. How about that? 1 of 1. Uh-oh.
Oh, so we might get to the bottom of this now.
I don't see it. It says 1 of 1, but it's not taking me to the highlight. This buster screw.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I couldn't find Brian or QE. I looked up argue, that came up with 1, but then
it might be the wrong video. Someone might have shared the wrong video.
Was it the most recent one?
Jado was the one who told us. I don't know.
That's helpful. Jesus.
when were you arguing?
It's 2016.
We don't even know which video it is. My God.
Right, it's very quiet here, and I'm too hot to think of things to say. So either we're going to get a conversation going on around it.
When these people say locally flat, and then they talk about it being out to 6 miles or something ridiculous, it's just, where do they think the GP of the star is when it's at like 10 degrees above the horizon? Do they think it's actually going to touch the ground?
What will touch the ground?
Yeah, but 8 inches per mile is not flat, is it? That's the claim. That's what we're debunking. The missing of the 8 inches per mile square. It cannot be locally flat. If it's locally flat, it's game over.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the people on the video was talking about it's just flat out to 6 miles.
God only
So
knows.
flat then?
He's just made that up.
Well,
misheard him.
I guess he's talking
60.
about.
I thought he was talking about the
eye level.
I thought he was
eye
talking
level
about
for a
nautical
6 foot
sorry, I'm
tall
talking
person.
to you. I thought he was talking about nautical miles, so I misheard him. I actually thought he said 60, but on the edit I was like 6. If I hadn't misheard him, I'd have been like, "What are you babbling about 6?" But I literally thought he was talking about 60 because my automatic assumption we was talking about 60 per degree. But no, he did actually say 6. Just made that up.
He's talking about looking out towards the horizon for a 6 foot tall person. Whatever it is.
I hadn't thought of that actually. Well spotted.
6 foot tall. You're going to need a horizontal plane for that.
Locally flat was the 3-year-old version of, well, of course we measure it flat because it's such a big ball. That's what they used to say.
Imagine you're an ant
Now
on a basketball.
Yep.
Yeah, it does make Bev's endeavours in this arena seem that much more suspect now we're covering this with our opponent saying, yeah, we measure Earth flat. It's okay to measure it flat. It's just flat within a certain distance. And then after the flat bit that we measure, it's ball-shaped by my imagination and extrapolation with those flat Earth measurements. So then when you hear Bev saying not measured flat, you're like, why? Why would you go out of your way to make sure that people know that Earth is not measured flat when it is very much measured flat and it's actually one of the biggest linchpins in their argument because they have to confess to how flat it's measured. Like we're getting those confessions from them now. So what? We shouldn't say Earth's measured flat, but it's okay for the globe believers to say it's measured flat and then justify why it isn't ball-shaped. Yeah, if we can keep that as a precedent where they can say it's measured flat to be a ball, then there's no danger. Whereas if we're saying it's measured flat and they're saying it's measured flat, then that's the end of the argument, isn't it?
Been an argument for a long time.
But would you agree that this could be that linchpin, the end of it? If they the only way you can get your opponent to accept your position is if they believe in the first instance that they already knew it. Well, in this case, they do. They already know it's measured flat.
What do you mean by opponents? Do you mean anti-flats?
Well, anybody who comes across us is preordained to think we're stupid and wrong. That's everybody, isn't it? Well, I consider that our opponents. Everybody.
Most people don't have a clue. They can't comprehend. I've been saying, ever for the last 2 years, the number of people who even understand what a 90-degree angle is in reference to a surface is vanishingly small.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And it's a complicated deception. Therefore, you're going to have complicated lies around the complicated deception that are beyond the ability cognitively of most people. It needs to be that way so that most people will get lost, confused, and give up. Well, for those of you who do actually want to know what's going on with the world, well, then you'll have to knuckle down and learn. And it's not easy, like anything that's new and unfamiliar. On the other hand, if you just want to believe what you're told, well, just go in peace. Believe you're on a globe, I don't care.
Right.
Good for you.
So the vast majority will believe it the moment the TV tells them that it's flat, and they
I have
won't give it
accepted
another
that.
thought.
Absolutely, and I have accepted that. Most people are complete cucks. There's a whole disparaging meme about people being NPCs. You're like, no, people aren't NPCs. They're just predictable. They behave in predictable ways, and people exploit that.
So the real adversaries are, the people who can decide what the TV says.
Yeah, we are their enemy. The people who have an ounce of discernment. Whereas the average globe believer would say that they've got the best common sense. And you're like, common sense? What does that mean? Well, I can regurgitate what I've been told because I can understand it and repeat it. That's common sense, isn't it? TV says globe. I can repeat the word globe. Therefore, it's common sense. We're on a globe.
How do we get into conversations with those people then?
I might have something in the pipeline for that. Don't want to tell anybody what it is until I do it.
One of the early thoughts I had about this is like getting a round table of like university professors in optics, geometry, someone who instructs in celestial navigation in a room, and just get them to talk to each other about the issues. Ask them pointed questions about the intersection between black swan observations and how celestial navigation actually works.
Who's talking? Who's this guy? Who are you?
Me?
Yeah, endless.
Endless. Yeah.
Beautiful summary. That is exactly what it's all about. The juxtaposition between flat Earth measurements in celestial navigation and the lack of claim to be measurements of a globe, Earth, sphere, edge, horizon debunked by the black swan. That is the sum total of this argument, in my humble opinion. There are two critical turning points in the discussion. The first is the black swan. The second is the recognition for everybody, this is happening as opposed to happened, that Earth's measured flat for everyone. Once you understand that, once you're beyond that, you're like, okay, so everyone appreciates that Earth is measured flat and there are no Earth curve measurements. What next? Well, choices. Believe in globe, understand its flat measurements. That's it. That's the end. You can still have your belief. You're still welcome to believe in a globe with that.
And that's how you know how devastating it is, because their response to it, when put to them, is very significant. They used to claim that we measured Earth's curvature. So the black swan, then all of a sudden, we never claimed to measure the geometric horizon, aka curvature. We never claimed it.
Nobody's.
What are you talking about?
Nobody's claiming the horizon is Earth curve. End quote. Tim Osman.
Exactly.
No one is expected to see the geometrical horizon.
Yep.
The rumpus.
The geometrical
horizon is within 5% of the visible horizon.
Within 5%, yeah. Like, so there aren't any measurements. That's what Black Swan put an end to. If you've got no geometric assertion to measure, then your claim's over because you've got nothing to back it with. And what do you really back it with? Well, you back it with flat Earth measurements, don't you?
Had a few conversations with Protothad over the last couple of years, and you could get him to run away every time by talking about long-distance observations. He would waffle on forever about celestial navigation, but the moment you put the contradiction right in front of his face, he'd be like, oh, no, I got to go now.
Yep.
No, we're talking about primordial steps, though, because the claim here is mainly we've been duped to think that boats disappeared bottom up on the horizon. So in other words, what we are saying is, in relation to the horizontal plane, boats are disappearing with the bottom first over the horizontal plane. Now, never is mentioned curvature, though. It's down to us to imagine the curvature when we say it's disappearing on the horizon, because up and down is in relationship to the horizontal plane anyway. So the claim is a horizontal plane, horizon.
That's when the Globers have to go check their math to see exactly what it is they're allowed to say, right? Because it's the math that dictates what argument they make. So if whatever boat they're looking at, according to globe math, it's supposed to be disappeared, and it disappears, well then, hey, Earth curve proven, yeah, everything's great. Unless the math says otherwise, then nah, what you're looking at here is a mirage. You're not actually seeing what you're seeing. That's not Chicago over there. Clown show.
The mirage.
Yeah, right.
So you can see a mirage on the horizontal. Okay, and proves what?
Proves that
Horizontal.
we're sticking to the outside of a magical spinning water ball flying around in the sky.
Let's not just hand wave dismiss the horizontal, though.
Listen, you need the horizontal to get to the curvature part. Once we get to the curvature part, you can ignore the horizontal part that got us to the curvature part. See? See how easy that is? Beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, just like EMBO says, the horizon is a circle around you. Yeah, you can see a circle around you 360 degrees, but the horizon is horizontal. It's a plane, a horizontal plane, not just a horizontal line. Is in every single vector, on the same elevation level, is horizontal.
Yeah. So locally flat is 4,500 nautical miles away.
Yeah, sounds pretty local.
Yeah, on that linear measurement.
Wait, what if I go over there? Would that be locally flat too?
Whatever you're measuring, it's always going to be local to you, isn't it? You can say, well, I'm measuring the GPA Polaris from 1 degree declination or 1 degree above the horizon. So you're talking about an absolutely vast area of equal elevation then. Yeah. But that's still you measuring it locally flat, isn't it?
No. I don't want to hear locally flat anymore. There are no flat surfaces on a sphere.
Nobody said anything about a sphere, Neil. You're hearing things, Neil.
It's all flat, Dave. Everywhere's flat, Dave. It's all flat.
It's all flat, Dave. Everything's flat, Dave. Dave, everything's flat. Everything is flat, Dave. The opening to Red Dwarf.
It's just absurd at this point. Just absurd.
So what happens is the lowest ranking person on a mining ship floating through space puts hallucinogenic mushrooms in his superior's lunch, and then the guy has a hallucinogenic fit and starts dancing around in his underpants and things like that. So as a punishment, they put him into suspended animation for a week, or till the trip gets home, so he has to forfeit that amount of pay, because obviously he's not going to get paid for what he's not doing in suspended animation. Well, while he's in suspended animation, there's a catastrophe, a plate isn't sealed, and the whole crew get irradiated and destroyed. So there's nobody left on the ship but him in stasis. So he comes out of stasis, and he's talking to the ship's computer, and he says, "Where is everybody, Holly?" And says, "They're all dead, Dave." He goes, "What do you mean they're all dead?" He says, "Everybody's dead, Dave." He goes, "They can't all be dead, not Kachansky." He says, "'Cause she's dead, Dave. Everybody's dead, Dave." He says, "What about Peterson? Is he dead?" "Peterson's dead, Dave." Everybody's dead, Dave. Everybody is dead, Dave. He says, are you trying to tell me they're all dead?
That's funny.
And he's walking around, right? And on the desks and stuff, there's these little piles of white powder. And he's like picking it up and tasting it and sniffing it and stuff. And he's like, what's with all this white piles of powder anywhere? What's this? And he's tasting it. Because that's second technician Olaf Peterson. He's like, ah! This has been eating half the crew.
So you're saying it's like what's that movie, War of the Worlds? When Tom Cruise runs in the bathroom and he realizes that all the dust on him is people that have been exterminated.
Was that the plot of Waterworld?
No, that was War of the Worlds.
Oh, War of the Worlds.
The remake. Okay. When they're all getting zapped and he gets back to his apartment and he's got dust all over him. He realizes it's people.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great remake. I like that.
I used to love Red Dwarf.
I've only seen the clips that you showed us, or whatever you referred us to. I've never seen a whole episode of that.
I'd play some, but it would just get me in a genuine copyright strike because I'd just have to play it all in context, and I can almost give you every line of every episode verbatim. You know what I mean? I've watched them all so many times as a kid.
It was that good?
Yeah, I had all the videos, so I'd go out and buy a VHS copy as soon as it was available, having watched it on TV, and then I'd watch it over and over and over and over again.
You know what my son used to love that I started getting into? Invader Zim. I think it was MTV. You ever heard of that?
No.
You never heard of Invader Zim?
No.
Oh, well, I guess it's not good then.
That's a good cartoon. I like that one.
That's the one where you had the reject freaking robot, right?
Yeah. There's a lot of screaming. Every character is constantly screaming in that show.
Well, I came across one of those. It's child programs, Nickelodeon, that is. And one of the episodes of whatever series it is, the kids are pretending to be in outer space. Yeah. And they are being recorded. So they have another set of kids with a camera filming these other kids hanging upside down with an astronaut suit on, pretending to be in outer space. Isn't that hilarious? Even the kids know how to pretend. It's just a pretend show.
Current season, pretend astronauts are in the pretend ISS, pretend stranded. That they put it on the news.
We have to save them.
You're going to crush it into the ground.
Well, they wouldn't need spacesuits anyway. They wouldn't need spacesuits once in the moon, you know. They wouldn't need the spacesuits for the gas pressure.
Oh, the heavy gases would cling to the moon, wouldn't they? The real heavy ones. They make puddles all over the place.
Exactly, because they're looking back at Earth. You know, Earth doesn't have a spacesuit. So why would they need a spacesuit on Earth or on the moon for the gas pressure? They wouldn't need. You don't need a container for gas pressure, do you?
My gas is around in a wheelbarrow.
especially now since Earth's atmosphere apparently goes out past the moon, which is cool.
I find an exercise ball is better than a wheelbarrow. To carry gases around in,
Bouncy.
or on the exercise ball. That's how I carry my gases around.
Yeah, every time I take my wheelbarrow around, it's full of gases in.
Well, I've got a special exercise ball that's charged with ether gravity. Makes a fantastic container.
Down.
Can you please get me 2 wheelbarrows of oxygen and 1 of hydrogen?
Sounds dangerous.
2 exercise
Explosive.
balls. Give me 2 exercise balls of hydrogen and a basketball of helium, please.
Careful, they'll be attracted to each other.
Can you imagine fighting a fire with oxygen and hydrogen? But that's what water is.
I guess this is what they mean by the show's dying.
You reach the end of the argument. What do you do at that point?
Yeah, because any claim is going to require a flat Earth anyway.
No, Neil. From what Jardo said, the suggestion that the show is, quote, falling apart, according to Jardo, is because QE, Brian, and myself argue with each other.
Like a very successful cult. You guys have got to be in lockstep, surely.
Echo
No
chamber.
argument ever.
If that was the case, I would have left a long time ago.
Nathan, your birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday, sir.
Thank you.
Yep. No show tomorrow, correct?
No.
Okay.
Get all my hair shaved off.
I'm gonna do that same thing later this week. So you're not gonna be here tomorrow, and this is circling the drain. I got a lot of work to do because I just got back. So I'm gonna take my leave of you.
You off? I'll use that as an excuse to round out this show then, as it is the second. It's a B, part B, if you know what I mean.
Yep. Yep. I'll catch you on Wednesday.
Yeah, have a good show tomorrow. Shout me out.
Definitely.
I'll be watching, I'm sure.
All right, guys. Later on, guys.
See you later, QE.
All right, bro.
Later, QE. Happy birthday, Nathan.
Yeah,
Happy
I'll try
birthday.
to. Adam, are you there?
Yeah, I was just trying to get to the phone to say happy birthday, mate. Yes.
It wasn't about. I was just going to ask you. Did you have a chance to read my?
Yes.
Should I just send that as is? Is that okay?
Who's that to? Him?
Yeah, they get it directly.
Yeah. Yeah, I would just.
That's in the copyright
challenge
submission.
it. That's That's all you need to do. Highlight why it's perfectly usable under YouTube terms of service, and just send it and challenge him, because then he's got to then say no, I want to go to court or retract it. To call his bluff. It's a shit stirring, isn't it? Hello.
What's up, Adam?
Chuck, you're right, mate.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
D. Sky.
Are you coming as well, Adam? 27th of August?
Oh, too far
Or is it
for me.
Dorset? Too far.
What day is it?
It's a Tuesday. It's after the Monday bank holiday.
Yeah, no chance.
Oh, come on, Adam.
Where?
No chance. Oh, come
Where?
on.
I'll be at work.
Wait at
I'll be at work,
Bournemouth.
so I wouldn't get there
It's
in
got to be
time.
at least
I'd have to leave
100 miles.
lunchtime-ish to get there.
Where are you talking about?
Well, I don't know if it's Bournemouth, which I don't think it is. I've heard. Is it Dorset?
Yeah,
but Dorset's a hell of a drive for me.
Oh, Dorset's like 4 hours for you.
It says Bournemouth on the on Mark Sargent's
Bournemouth's the
little thing.
Yeah, Bournemouth's the closest.
Oh, the name of the pub.
town.
Oh, okay. All right.
But Adam, you should take the train, not drive.
Adam doesn't need to hear me. You're having me on. He's not even here, are you, Adam?
Yeah, man. Did you not have any reply?
It's not about hearing you. It's about the support. I'm going to do my best.
No, here as in the UK, as in the UK. Hello, everyone.
Hey, Brian. Apparently,
Brian.
you, myself, and Quantum Eraser are the reason this show's falling apart. Did you listen today? Globebusters have had a little jab.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's useful. And he's been much more better mannered like I am.
No. The show's falling apart because you, QE, and Adam and Nathan cannot seem to get along.
What do you mean, Adam?
I'm putting you in there.
Yeah, but they didn't.
Yeah, this place is an echo chamber.
Couldn't actually find the video of them saying it yet, though.
Adam said, whoa, they didn't put me in there. Why you put me in there?
I was going to say, Adam's just as disagreeable as all of us. In the examples I gave in the live show, I was talking about Adam and Brian and myself more than QE, Brian and myself as being like Brits in that regard. I know Brian's Irish, but you know what I'm getting at in terms of how we jab at each other is perfectly friendly. And when we are actually, full on arguing about something, yeah, we're passionate. Doesn't mean that any of us are taking any offence. And it certainly doesn't mean suddenly I despise Adam because he's disagreeing with something I've got wrong, or vice versa.
Well, if people listen to the work we've been doing recently, you'd think we're arguing. We're not. It's no argument. If we used to say that about me and Vin, my business partner, so we'd be sat in, bars and stuff, been to a meeting and stuff, and discussing with gusto, if you see what I mean. And people are on there, all right, lads, calm down, no need to get tasty, you know what I mean? And no, we're not, mate. Sod off. There's no offence taken. If there is, or we do offend, tough. No, you'd apologise, wouldn't you? We wouldn't intentionally attack each other. And if you listen to it, not actually attacking each other ever. Or attacking the argument that's being presented.
Always the argument. It's always, no, you don't understand this aspect of the argument, Brian. You just haven't quite understood yet. Or normally the other way around. You're just not understanding this aspect I've studied forever, and you've only heard from me in the last 5 minutes claiming that you watched a video I made about it 3 days ago. How dare you challenge me? But that's not, you are an idiot, Nathan, is it?
No, but see, that's the problem. It's like they feel we're always going after one of them. It's not Whitsitt or Jiren. It's what you say.
Yeah.
We all know that whatever argument comes about, Brian mentioned 2 weeks before, so it's all credit to him.
I'm a positive outlook guy. So when I'm just thinking, well, isn't that nice? Eh? All those globebusters lot are worried about our show.
Exactly. That's what I said, Adam.
We're concerned.
It's exactly the attitude I had. Oh, thanks
Glad
for
to know
watching.
you're in the right.
Oh, thanks for the concern. Yeah, maybe you could address some of the pseudoscience you're using, because we also point that out too, don't we? I'm sure you'd know, you watch.
Don't address the pseudoscience, point out that you lot argue. It's a much more pertinent point.
So pointing out that we argue, does that help them? Do they also point out simultaneously how they stroke each other's nuts or something? Like, I don't really get this. It just sounds stupid. Oh, look at them, they're arguing. Yeah, that's what people do.
Wishful thinking. They're
Well,
saying,
they hear what they want to hear too. What they want to hear, they hear.
yeah, so if they hear a bit of chaos,
the show called?
There's dissension in the ranks, it's all falling apart. That's what they want. It's wishful thinking. They want the show. What they've said is the show's falling apart. Well, no, it isn't. But that's wishful thinking. If I say it, it'll be so. Why do they want the show to fall apart? Well, because we disagree with their pseudoscience and parlor tricks and lies, and obviously we're going to take umbrage when they claim we're scammers, and then later claim that it's very important we pay attention to this experiment that affirms the consequent. All the things I went through on that first live show before the computer crashed. Well, if we're pointing all those things out that discredit them, better to just tell your audience, oh, that's a rubbish show, everyone's deserting them. Well, no, they're not. But it's wishful thinking.
And selective hearing. But I don't know what, it's not even selective hearing because it's not even true. So, like, I don't know where they're getting that from.
Actually, maybe it was Friday, because people got a bit hot and tasty. Don't let me speak. Then Nathan buggers off and comes back in the middle of a conversation, takes over, and Brian and QE got a bit. Yeah? Well,
see, that to me is hilarious.
Real world. Yeah, but welcome to the real world. Do you know what I mean? No one talked. No one didn't speak to each other after that. The show then continued, didn't it? So it's a false interpretation of the event. Maybe they aren't good enough friends with their peer group to be able to talk like that and not mean that their friendship's over. It's not the case over here, but
an
don't judge us by
acknowledgement
your
of each other's
standards.
failings. So what Adam just did very subtly, I might admit, very subtly indeed, didn't get past me, was highlighted a flaw in my character, right? Subtly. Well, the fact that Adam can recognise and accept that flaw in my character doesn't necessarily mean that it's not going to piss Brian off royally in the moment and he's going to get up in arms about it, rightly so. You've not listened, you've not been here, you've just stepped in, now you're taking over, what are you doing? That's going to annoy him, isn't it? Now, also, Brian knows I'm let's just call it like it is, a bit of a dick sometimes. Doesn't mean he doesn't like me, he just accepts my shortcomings, like I accept his shortcomings. He stinks, he's Irish.
And he rebuts you. I think that's what they're listening to because Brian's been really on it. Like, Nathan, in other words, you're not going to give me the end of your tongue or whatever he said the other day, but I heard him because you snipped at him and Brian, he bit back. So they're hearing these things and in their mind, we're falling apart. To me, that brings us closer.
Well, it stops anybody getting away with any nonsense. There's no awkward silence because you've heard somebody on your own side in this arena going, blah, 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 nonsense, nonsense, nonsense. And rather than just thinking, I'll just keep quiet rather than embarrassing him. People don't do that. People go, what are you talking about, you stupid idiot? What does that mean? That makes no sense.
Nathan, please.
Exactly.
Or more often, there's a, especially with Brian's explanations will be expansive enough to incorporate 2 or 3 different aspects that could be latched onto by the person listening. And ultimately, Brian has always got an overarching point that needs several other disclaimers to incorporate into his overarching point. What will normally happen is, during that process, I'll latch onto one of the examples within the overarching point that hasn't been made yet. And I'll latch onto it and start highlighting that indefinitely, much to Brian's irritation, because he hasn't got to the overarching point he wants to focus on. Now that'll piss him off. And me, I've just got, there's a flat Earth being used. Let's do this. Nothing else. Nothing. And Brian's like, no. There's a more complicated point we've got to get to here. Just let me. I'm like, no. Everyone needs to know Earth's measure flat. We all know it. I've known it for 5 years. I knew it longer than you did. Shut up. That's how it's going to go. But it doesn't mean he's going to bloody hate me afterwards. It just means he's going to be annoyed in the moment because his overarching point's not being made. Not because he can't stand Nathan Oakley. What a prick. Although that's also simultaneously true.
No, I get frustrated at times. But what can I do? I mean, that's just the way things go. But it's not something I end up dwelling on afterwards. Like I might be frustrated a bit, but I'm not something like I go, well, that's it. I'm having nothing more to do with Nathan. You know what I mean? That's never the case. Did they even focus at all on any positive parts of it?
We haven't watched it.
That is a positive, but
we got a brief précis from Jardo, so we don't know. We'll probably find out on QE's show when he digs through the 3 hours of shows and finds where they've made a mention of us for 20 seconds and we're probably making a mountain out of a molehill. But nevertheless, it is still very telling. You know, they're mentioning us in passing about an issue that's a non-issue rather than addressing the endless critique we have of their garbage and spewing of pseudoscience.
Well, there's a lot of good arguments that is put out there by us and a lot of logic that's put out there by us. And they never mention these things. They have not. Like, if they do something good, we will mention it. We're not going to not mention it. I always say when they bring up the Canada thing, I always say that's a good proof. Right? But I don't hear anything else other than Canada. So that's why I don't say anything good about anything else they bring up. I only hear rubbish most of the time. And even if it's somewhat good, most of it is in, Witsit has a tendency to go looking for proofs that are like, and I understand them, like the microwave transmission distances and stuff like that. And I understand that, but the problem is that the reason he's looking for those things is so he can somehow tie it back to ether. That's why he doesn't. Like, do you know what I mean? Things like that. So even if he does come up with something good, I'm dubious of it immediately, even if it's good, because he's trying to tie it back to ether. So they have this ether agenda and a dielectric acceleration agenda. Both of them are wrong, and both of those agendas are wrong, and that's why we give them such a grilling, because they do things wrong so much. But when we do anything right, they never mention it, ever. There's never a mention on their show about us doing anything right, that I remember, anyway.
There's a load of stuff in Taboo Conspiracies video that I watched today, and I thought it was good. It was about an example like that with the Lorenz and distances in UHF broadcasts, right, that have to be straight. And it was all very well and good, but there was several examples within the descriptions that are being used that the examples themselves that are referenced are ambiguous in terms of how they're being used from either side's perspective. So one side could say, well, my elevation above sea level, and the other side can say my elevation above sea level. And then they go on to argue about whether or not the two different elevations above sea level would have a differential between eye level and surface level interfere with it below the surface level when you reify it into the geometric mathematics we debunked in 2020. Now, while Taboo's going through this, I'm looking at the video going, that's a height above a flat Earth, that's another height above a flat Earth, that's an elevation profile that's flat, describing the elevations of things with respect to a 0 point. It's flat in the diagram. I'm looking at all these things going, I get how your argument works, but at any point during the argument, you could stop the false dichotomy with whether or not we should be seeing too far, or whether or not there's a shadow under the sea, and say all of the reference points that are being used to make this argument require Earth measured flat to describe them in the first place. If you're going to describe an elevation profile in Google, point out that the elevation profile can only be described with respect to a flat plane. If you're going to describe the height of a radio transmitter at a certain point on the ground and its height is with respect to sea level. If you're going to describe where it transmits to on the other side of the world, well, then the height of that transmitter or receiver or transceiver is also described with respect to a horizontal plane of reference in the first place. So to take both of those instances and then describe how a maths that describes how there's a deviation from eye level to surface level, creating a physical geometric sphere edge below the surface level that could be in the way but isn't in the way, is a massive step, or too many steps away from 5 or 6 flat earth proofs in the first instance that have just been whistled past. So us pointing out how and where Earth is measured flat constantly will hopefully stop a lot of our own sides from taking these long, protracted journeys into a false dichotomy that uses flat Earth measurements on both sides. I am going to go get a coffee and stuff, so just so I don't come back in the middle of an argument and get told off.
No worries.
2 minutes listening before you interject, and it's all fine.
You know what the difference is, though, between their show and this show, Nathan's show, is that we can be doing what they're doing, but we're also inviting ballers on, right, to challenge us or whatever. Whereas with Globebusters, there's no one really invited on. It's just them doing whatever they're doing. So they can go through a topic and they don't have to worry about anyone coming on to debate them on it. If you know what I mean. They don't have to deal with that. Whereas here, we are always constantly dealing with someone likely to come in and challenge us. So for that reason, we can't really rest on our laurels, if you know what I mean.
Well, we don't need a baller to come in, do we? We'll hold each other to task if something's not correct or not explained sufficiently. That's the point. It's like there, exactly. But there's a different dynamic, isn't there? Look, we're all of a similar ilk, and mates tease each other, just like I did to Nathan there. You know, go and get your coffee, but listen in first before you can't start piping up. Yeah? Well, that's what mates do. Now, there might be a point of recognition in there. You don't need to kick off. You don't need to get antsy and fruity, do you? And you certainly, if people hear it, don't need it being described as you falling out. Because that just shows you not understanding the dynamic. You'd know if you fell out with me, wouldn't you? And I think I'd know if it was anything other than little bits of bant or a niggle. Don't do that, you know what I mean? But that doesn't create a problem for me.
No, it does not.
Unless hurty feelings is so bad that you can't get over hurty feelings.
Well, the worst that happens is with us is that if we have an argument, there'll be kind of a cooling off period at most. That's it. And most of the time, that only lasts for a short period after the argument. Then it's back to normal, right? Nearly the next day, or later on that day.
Yeah, 20 minutes, half an hour. Funny.
I mean, you will sometimes. I'm not going to say I didn't do it. Sometimes if I'm arguing with someone there, I will get a bit tasty, as you put it. I will, and it ends up becoming kind of a bit vinegary. And I'm not going to say it doesn't, but most arguments don't end up that way. That's not the direction they go. The argument is more based around the topic.
Boy, it's hot air, Brian.
I would say it is, Adam. What's the average temperature over there?
It was 37 at the beach today. Carl said 42 when we got in it. Yeah, beautiful.
You must have got straight back out of it.
We got in, got out, burnt myself on the seatbelt, on the metal clip bit. I was boiling. But yeah, just beautiful day in the sea. I'm off for pizza in a bit.
That's when you need your little trike, your three-wheeler. People aren't laughing then.
They wouldn't be laughing, would they, Bri? Wouldn't be laughing. I thought we had all the family out on it, up and down our street. Yeah, and I'm sure I got the wife to change her mind. Yeah, she went round on it, Brian. Loved it. But said I still wouldn't want to be seen any more in public on it.
But you won't be born. You won't be stepping into something that's 42 degrees. You know what I mean?
No. I've treated melt out here, I think, mate. Is it hot over there?
Well, I can't speak for the UK, but it's been reasonably hot here recently. It was kind of up to about 24, 25 degrees, which is good for this summer, because this summer has been terrible.
Yeah. I tell you, we've had a funny one, Bright. It's been that hot here, right, that you're not allowed to fill your pool, which kind of broke me when we got here. So we just had the water was treated and we were not allowed to put it in. Luckily, the neighbours said, well, you've got 2 wells on your land. So we've been and bought this huge hose and the neighbours borrowed their pump. Been pumping out the well, mate, to fill the pool. Well, cool.
Well, that's part of the reason you go, or one of the things you look forward to is being able to relax in the pool.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
And you need to have that.
It's been more fun pumping water out the pool to fill it, to get it going. It was good fun.
Yeah, so what did I miss this morning?
What do you miss? Don't know. Was at the beach off listening.
Whose head was on the guillotine, or was it just a review of a video?
Supposedly the board. Sorry, Adam, go on.
That was a question. Did you get to the video? Only in and out.
I didn't hear that.
Sorry, I've got my phone on. I said, did you actually, Nathan actually get to reviewing any video today, or? I don't think there was there? It was just a comment of Globe Busters.
Oh, well, I did enjoy watching a video from something before. It was a guy named AJ and somebody else. It was about what was it about? Him proving something. I forgot what the subject matter was, but Brian interjected and held him to prove something or disprove something, and the guy was just very evasive. Nathan drilled him. Huey popped in once in a while. I think it was basically was about containment. But AJ was one of the people that was interjecting too. But there was this one guy, he was real loud, and he came in, he was very, I commented on the video, but he came in all loud and, like, well, I've got a thing here that shows that, it was about basically horizon on the curve and measurement of a curve. That's what it was. And he was adamant that he knew what he was talking about and how no one, especially Nathan, didn't know what he was talking about regarding angles. Dang, I forgot the name of the show. I think it was, I got to look back at it. Give me a minute.
It would have been on politics, server.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was, because Nathan kept on saying, I'm going to have the moderator shut you up. See, it's not me. I'm not muting you. It's the moderator. Now you know what I'm talking about?
I do remember something about an argument about a container on it in the past couple of weeks there, but I don't know when it was. It could have been 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, that kind of way.
I don't think it was container. This was about a guy claiming that the curve measurement, and that Nathan didn't know what he was talking about as far as the curve measurement. And in fact, you can measure on the curve with the tangent and everything. And he was arguing, oh man, I forgot the word. There were certain words we was asking him. You had said, could you tell me what the definition of something is? And he couldn't even give you the answer. He tried to, he waved it off. Oh man, I got to go back to it.
That's my favorite part when Nathan says,
I have no control. Moderator, shut him up.
That's the one. That's the one. Let me go back and look. Hold on.
I have no control. I do not mute anybody. Moderator, shut him up.
Yeah, show 2157, I think.
Have any reviewed my perspective challenge video?
Was that a question? What did you say?
Yeah, have any of you watched my perspective challenge video?
I've seen it. Is it with the Blackpool Swan?
Yeah, it's with the Blackpool observation. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's in Master B.
I did post it in Master B a few days ago. Yeah. Did. The whole purpose of it is.
Sorry. I was just going to say, I saw Tony, Sleeping Warriors, commented on it. Put a link to it on YouTube. But that's it. I've got to watch it still.
I found it. I got it.
Yeah, Tony was commenting because I'm after making a couple of videos on that one observation in the past few days over the weekend. I've made three, you could say 4 videos involving that observation. The past 3 have been mainly just using that. The one before the fourth one before that was involving Mount Canago more than that. But basically, they have these stupid observations that they think are a proof of something. So I made the challenge to him that if someone goes to where I think it was the Jackman was the surname of the photographer, the guy who took that famous photograph. Someone goes to the coordinates he was at and his elevation of his camera above sea level with a drone. And I think Aaron might be doing it, Adam. And they hover the drone at that 20-foot mark, right? And when it's clear and they can see the mountains behind the tower, and just bring the drone straight up. My point being is that when you bring the drone straight up, what's going to happen is, because of perspective, the mountains will appear to rise up and the tower will appear to go down, because you're removing that visual occultation. You're removing that effect of view of a smaller object in front of a bigger object, but that smaller object is bigger than you. So that occultation effect is being removed by the drone going straight up vertically. And because it's perspective, what will happen is the mountain will appear to rise up as the drone is going up in relation to the tower appearing to go down, right? Purely perspective. But that effect only happens on a flat plane in that way. My point to them is, and this is why none of them want to do it, to the ballers, is that if it's geometric Earth curve, and that's the reason why the mountain is down lower than the tower, then rising up with the drone to look above the tower won't allow you to look at the mountain. But the mountain is still going to be below the tower. The mountain, if it's geometric, then the mountain can't rise up with the drone. Apparently rise up, if you know what I mean. They can't, because that means it's geometric. It means the reason that the mountain is lower is because it's geometrically lower, not appearing lower because of perspective. And none of them want to do it. The ballers don't want anything to do with it. Oh, that would prove nothing. That's what I'm getting again, like the pitch data, right? It's the very thing that would prove of everything, and they don't want that to do with it. But I'm going to get it done. I've had what they're at the moment, but Ruhif and other people trying to change the challenge into some other different challenge. Do you know what I mean? Like they want to come up with some other strawman challenge that is not going to do anything, and they are willing to address that, but they don't want to do this perspective challenge because it's so simple, and it shows either way. If the effects I'm saying will happen, it's purely perspective, which I know it is, and I know it's over a flat plane. But if that doesn't, they have to make perspective not happen for their claim to be true, and they know that's impossible because they don't have perspective within their paradigm. Sorry. Go on, that's yours.
Yes, can I ask a question? When you say the mountain looks lower, it looks lower in respect to what?
Your line of sight to the mountain, because its angular size in relation to the angular size of the tower from your position, it appears because of visual occultation that the mountain is lower than the tower. But it's purely optical.
The mountain is lower than the tower, so the tower is the baseline? We're not accounting for the height of the tower either?
We are. But the point is that it's purely optical. That's my argument. That there's no... My argument is that it's...
Are you eating something? Have you got something in your mouth?
Yes, I am. Yeah,
Brian's saying that there's either one of two choices. Either we've got Earth curve and there's no perspective, or we've got perspective, in which case there's no Earth curve.
And no Earth curve, yes.
That buy you enough time to swallow?
Yeah, it did. I'm just finished there now. Just give me a moment. But that's it. If there's either Earth curve and no perspective, that's it. There's either Earth curve and no perspective, or perspective and no Earth curve. It's that simple. That's nailed.
No.
Well, can I say something?
Not the way you described it. Not the way you described it. The way you described it to me is, you didn't mention any curvature at all. The language you used by a mountain being lower or a tower being higher, up and down or higher and lower is into respect to a horizontal plane. So I don't see where people in this argument will claim sphere. Will be begging the question because it's not using the language.
George. Let me just say something. Only children, stupid, idiotic adults, or liars cannot understand the elementary, simplistic explanation of perspective. While Brian was saying that, I was walking down a long hallway at my job. I would say it's about 20 yards to 30 yards of length. From the beginning, our poster that has the display of the patient and the eyes and stuff, it looked very, very, very tiny to me. As I got closer to the picture, it got bigger and bigger and bigger, where it was almost looked like it was almost as big as me, which is what it really is in real life. I don't know what is the problem. When you go away from things, they get smaller. Now, you can't tell me that I have a curve in our hallway because our building is built leveled. It's level. There is no hill. There's no curve from one end of the hallway to the other. I'm not going up steps. I'm not going down steps. I'm walking straight down a hallway. And the picture became larger as I got closer. And then when I walked away from it and turned around, it became small again. I'm not even going to ask why is that so complicated. This is basically intentional cognitive dissonance and liars.
They have to deny, because when it comes to using their maths, heroes, they have to deny that the picture is changing in angular size.
Bro, what you're saying doesn't exist. Perspective only exists in art class, says Glober 10 years ago.
Forget
what you're seeing with your eyes. Get all that. Perspective only exists in art class. Okay?
I almost called the challenge. I almost called it the perspective challenge. And I said no, because I want it to be universal. I want everyone to understand it. Someone who does not in the arena to understand it, because they may not know the term perspective. But I comically almost called it that.
That's what they used to call it.
Yeah.
You literally used to tell us, oh, you flat earthers and your perspective. That doesn't exist. That's not a thing. It's like, what?
Yeah, they literally used to say that us claiming perspective was like a joke because there wasn't any. There was no perspective. Your eyesight creates the perspective. It's not geometric, it's eyesight. Angles.
Right.
And
I could be right on top of the Empire State Building and not see the top of it. But if I back up 10 blocks, then I could see the top of it.
Exactly. You've used that before. I've heard you say that many times, Neil. We've given many examples. So this is what really kills me. We've given them the most elementary, simplistic demonstrations, examples, illustrations, orthographic, everything. You can name it, whatever it is. So I run out of that. And then it's an ad hom when you do like Nathan do after he's exhausted every factual evidentiary piece of proof. You have to get down to this. You're just stupid. You're either stupid, like Chewy said about Danny Faulkner. You're either a liar or you're a fool. You're an idiot. There's nothing around it. I don't care whether you use my hallway example, Empire State Building, the tower, the mountain, sailing towards it. It becomes gigantuan. You go away from it, becomes teeny. I mean, these are just people who are they have a psychosis, or either they're liars. It's either a mental problem or they're just liars, pretentious liars, period.
It's another one of those topics. What about your edge? Do you fall off? When we all know they say that to distract us because of the implications of their edge. Yeah, it's the same thing. That's why they attack with flurf perspective. Attack like that, and we don't have to recognise the fact that there is perspective at play. Label it flurf perspective, and you can ignore perspective. And that's what Brian's points are good. Which do you want, Paula? Are you going to deny that perspective applies in everything when we view things? Are you going to just say the effects are only solely down to curvature? Make your choice. But again, it's them putting it in that false attack on us, always. Their weak points, they'll always turn it round to be an attack on us. Like I said, and first off, 5, 10 years ago, flurf perspective, wasn't it?
Or the dome.
Exactly, Adam.
The dome is another one. Ice wall's another one.
Yeah, because they involve containment. So it's an assassination of the validity of reality. That's what they're trying to do.
No.
When they say flower
No. You've ruined Adam's point now. No, it's not a hijacking of reality. It's taking their most weak aspect of their own argument and then foisting it on their opponent. So where they have an edge that boats fall over, they will ask us about our boats that fall over the edge. Where they've got a sky vacuum that you can't enter, they'll ask us about our dome. Where we've got examples of the known territory expanded out flat, they'll ask us about the area beyond the ice wall.
But what I said was it was an assassination of the validity of reality. Like when, let's say, containment for water, they want to attack us on our ice wall. Containment for gas, they want to attack us on our supposed dome. The point is that we claim containment, right? And that's the problem they have. So they need to belittle that by pushing ice walls and domes. And then they need to belittle perspective by coming up with flare perspective. One of them.
Yeah, but that's why. Why do they have to attack us about a dome? Because they know they can't have gas pressure without containment. Why do they attack us about boats falling off the edge of the thing? Because they're the only ones with an edge. Yeah, and it's the same with your point. Why are they attacking it, calling it flurf perspective? Because they know that perspective applies.
And they've called it Earth curve. Why do they ask us about what's beyond Antarctica? Well, because the known worlds that were expanded out flat. So they ask us about an aspect that they can't justify. We weren't expanding the world globe-shaped. So rather than focusing on that and the flat maps, ask us about the area that's unexplored. Like it's a weak aspect to our argument. No, it's a distraction from the fact that the maps are all flat and the world was expanded flat. So let's ask the flurfs about their bit they haven't discovered yet.
Well, I made a video. Sorry.
Sorry, Brian. Just a question. Do you guys think that back then, when they were telling us perspective didn't exist, and it's just an art class and all that nonsense, do you think they realized that perspective had nothing to do with their globe map? Do you think they were at that point, and that's why they were saying it?
No, they were being,
they didn't.
They were led
know
to.
it.
Sorry, you go, Brian.
No, I'm just saying they didn't know it because I made a video last night where I added in perspective into their globe maps and showed how it fails, it destroys them every time. It was on the video I made last night, I pointed out that there's 3 groups of them, right, when it comes to this perspective topic. The first group just can't believe that perspective is not part of their globe maths. It's not that they're not able to understand it. They're just not able to believe that it's not. They can't. They keep saying perspective is just always there. They can't understand. No, that's the thing that was hijacked. There's a second group that just don't understand it. They can't understand their own maths. So they can't understand the perspective is not in there. They keep thinking it is in there because they're told it is, or not told it is, but they're given the impression it is by people like Walter Bisland and Mick West up to a point, right? And other people, right? And then there's that smaller group of people who absolutely do know the maths and do know there is no perspective involved in their claims. And they are the Walter Bislands, the Mick Wests and the Ruhifs and whatever else. They know there is no perspective. They know that's what's omitted. But yet they want to try and add it in. For instance, Mick West will give you the angular size of the hidden amount, right? So within their maths, if of a 20-story building, if the first 10 stories are hidden, he'll give you the angular size of the hidden 10 stories. But the 10 stories that you supposedly can still see, like, they'll just be actual size. Do you know what I mean? This is the nonsense that they'll do, and the ballers just take it in.
Those 10 stories remain 10 stories. They don't shrink into the distance, the bottom 10, faster than the top 10 due to perspective. They shrink and they're hidden by Earth curve. They're not shrinking into perspective. They're being occluded by Earth curve. And that's the point. They know this. And this is what I'm saying. That's why they attack with Fleur perspective, because they know the dichotomy that you're putting to them now. Yeah? Which one are you going to pick? Earth curve or perspective? Yeah? Hence why, well, let's not raise this point. Let's just call them Fleur perspective.
Just stop a second. I just want to answer Chocolate's question. So the reasoning behind that, Chocolate, your question was, no, they don't know that they're not doing it. And their first foray into this will leave them in the feast of nonsense. It doesn't matter which side, either globe Earth or flat Earth, either asking or answering the question, why don't we see New York from Ireland? So when you say, well, do they appreciate there's no perspective? No, and they're also led to give questions that allude to their lack of comprehension of perspective. Why can't you see New York from Ireland? Because it's tiny, it's miles away. No, Earth curve's in the way. If it wasn't for the Earth curve being in the way, we'd see it, because the implication in the question from the Glurf is, if we were on a flat Earth, we should see New York from Ireland. That's them not appreciating how the hijacking's been worked.
Yeah, I had a feeling that that's what the case was. It's just it's funny to me how they went so hard against us with that at the beginning, with the against perspective. And there were times I would sit back and wonder, like, why are these people telling me that perspective doesn't exist when every time they open their eyes, that's what they're using? I try to figure out, like, what is this?
It goes deeper than that, because like 3 years ago, somebody said to me, well, the same telescope that you look up to see the smaller luminaries and the celestial bodies, he said, why can't you just put that at 180 horizontal? Why can't you still see China, whatever he said, one of the countries? And they don't even understand that even with doing that, they have to understand the line of sight. The line of sight, that if that freaking high-powered focusing instrument hits a fucking mountain in Colorado or another elevated mountain, you're not going to see beyond that anyway, no matter how
looking
powerful.
up is different. Hold on. If you're looking
No, I'm not talking about looking up. You're not listening to me. Neil, you're not talking about what I'm saying. You're not listening to what I'm saying.
It's not
Looking
even
up,
that,
there's nothing. Huh?
It's not even that. And how I know this is because Aaron, Tinfoil Hat Man, has telescopes and he has them working horizontally. The problem you have is the weather. That's the main problem. Is that because you can map out where you're looking. Now, of course, you look towards a mountain, you won't see through it, right? No matter how good your telescope is. You know, if the mountain is 2 miles away, you're not going to see through it. You're going to see only 2 miles with a massive telescope. But the problem is the weather. It's the air and all the dust and everything that's in the air. It makes it hard to see. That's what causes the very reason why we can't see forever. Like, besides perspective, it's also the fact that the air makes it impossible. The weather. Some days you can see really far just with your eyes, and other days in the same place you can only see a little. Like, you can see a mile away from you. Whereas the last time you could see 7 miles.
That's what Neil. That's what Neil was alluding to. That's what Neil was alluding to.
Just adding to that, Brian. I distinctly remember going up to see the Isle of Man with Anthony, and all he would do the whole time is moan about the weather, right? Because that's really all it's dependent on. But when we arrived at St. Bees, it was just my wife and I at the time. She might have even been pregnant from memory. I can't remember. But anyway, it was just the two of us. But as we arrived, you could see the Isle of Man. Now, because it was so clear, it seemed like that was the norm. It didn't seem like you were seeing something out of the ordinary. Yeah, you just went up to the top of the... Not the hill that Anthony was taking pictures from, but on the journey towards the Isle of Man, we got an absolutely exceptional view of it. But it was so clear that I had to ask my wife, I'm like, is that the Isle of Man? As in, is that just a distant hill range? Or is that actually the Isle of Man? And we're both looking at each other going, no, that is definitely it, isn't it? Look, it's across the water. So we stop, we look, and we go, wow, this is going to be that's going to be the view we get. But if it wasn't for the fact that we were going up there to look specifically at it, and even then we almost didn't notice, it becomes just part of the view. So when you just see something, like in your picture, like Brian, for the last few videos that you've got, that picture with the mountains in the background, if you were there on that day and you just saw that, you wouldn't think there was anything out of the ordinary. It's just that's the view that you get, isn't it? You don't suddenly start assessing it in any way, shape, or form. But when you've got a crap day, I'm nearly there. One last point. When you've got a crap day, the lack of it is suddenly a major problem because suddenly the view simply isn't there. It doesn't matter how bleeding good your telescope is.
Sorry for ruining your point. No, it's exactly. Because if you can see it, it's like, like you say with sound, nobody notices good sound. They only notice bad sound. It's the same thing for optical things. Nobody notices something that's good optically. They notice it when it's bad. So it comes down to that. But when you want to see something and the weather is bad, you'll notice it immediately. But if you can just see it, you go, oh, look, there it is. You just accept it because it's just there. You can see it. It's like clock, 20 miles. Yeah. I don't need to come up with any nonsense over 6 hour refraction nonsense. Yeah.
Exactly. When you're out... Go on, D.
Now, that's a good example what Brian said about sound. That was a great example. But back to weather. I've known many a times where they'll tell us warning on the roads, keep a distance because fog is impeding vision up to a certain amount of feet or a certain amount of miles. So that's part of the conditions. So if it's going to affect me driving on the road and I can't even see the car in front of me, except maybe 6, 7, 8, 9 car lengths away, that's only about 50 yards, if that. So of course, I mean, these are the things that you would think that common sense would kind of be inserted in somebody's deciphering of why I can't see this, why now I can see this. But they don't think that. The first thing they say is, oh, because there's a curve over there. It's pathetic.
Well, it's seeing is believing, isn't it? So, hold on a sec. When you see something, you don't question the evidence of your own eyes. So when you're seeing a mountain range with the Blackpool Tower in the near mid-foreground and a whole beach expanse ahead of you, you just see what you see. There's no questioning it. It's back to the example of, the Glurf and the Flat Earther standing looking across the way at Blackpool Tower. And the Flat Earther just says, nice view. And the Glurf says, no! We shouldn't be seeing that and this and the other because there's a slightly looming non-standard refraction high in a holographic projection of the physical geometric sphere edge horizon that's blocking our view, but we can't see. It must be a refracted mirage. Like, bloody hell, I just see Blackpool Tower. I just see a clock. I just see
Exactly.
this
Yeah,
landscape.
you just see a clock.
But when we were out at the Isle of Man, Anthony would do it all the time when he had the view. He'd be collaring people walking by going, look, you can see the Isle of Man. And they go, oh, yeah, so you can. And then they'd just keep walking. No, Anthony would stop them. You shouldn't be able to see that. Man, he'd get a slap these days, but you know what I'm getting at. And they'd be like, shrugging their shoulders because they don't know why he would be questioning what they're just seeing. They just see it. He just sees it. Why would there be any question? It's only when we take a photograph of it and stick it on a monitor that suddenly, well, now we can measure pixels and say whether or not we should have been able to see it or not. We got a photo of it. Why should we question whether or not we should have been able to see it?
No. Get on your belly.
That's when you run around with the math, right, on a piece of paper. And then when these people say, yeah, it's right there. Why shouldn't I be able to see it? And then you pull out the map and like, look, because your mainstream globe narrative tells you that you can't see it because of this map on this piece of paper. So your eyes, don't trust your eyes. Trust this piece of paper I got with this map on it.
Neil's right.
Let's
there.
make
I remember
West.
that, Neil. I remember him saying, "Get on your belly," because that was what I think it was Rumpus, wasn't it? Bet you couldn't get the same shot of the Isle of Man on your belly, and that was Tony's triumph. That absolutely destroyed them at the Isle of Man. But why? Why are they saying get on your belly? Because if you get on your belly, because of Earth curve, you won't be able to see it anymore. Yeah, that was their claim. That was a very good tell back then. Yeah, and that's their destruction point. But that's why they were saying to Tony, "Well, you've got to go lower, and then you won't be able to see it." Because in their minds, the only reason you won't be able to see it is because of Earth curve. It's just lucky refraction on those days. Hence why Tony's pictures were so powerful. That was the first.
They didn't know
Flat
they
Earth
were
conference.
up for the Black Swan at that point. Oh, go lower, you say? Okay, no problem. Years later,
Remember that's
claimed
remember.
characterize it.
No, remember what I had said before? I said, lay on your belly, turn your face to the side, lay on the side of your face in your kitchen or in your undoubtedly leveled floor. And then get up on your knees and look. And then stand up. Does that mean that you lay on your belly that you had curvature on your leveled floor? Or does it just mean that when you rose up, you saw more of the floor? This is another simple thing that my children, the oldest, 10 years old, understands perspective about. So that's why I said, once again, there's only 3 categories: idiots, liars, or fools. That's all it is.
Yeah, when you said up and down, you already said it all, isn't it? Because up and down is in relation to a horizontal plane. In this case, your level
There you
kitchen
go.
floor.
Yep. Exactly, George.
When they were running around with a whole list of things that flat earthers say or the cause of things either disappearing, being able to be seen, right?
I can
They had a
barely
whole
hear
list.
Chocolate. I can barely hear what you're saying.
Sorry.
Pick up, Chuck.
Is that better?
A little bit.
Yeah, I was saying, remember when they were running around with a whole list of things? This is the list of excuses that flat earthers have as to why we can either see or not see certain things in the distance, right? Remember that?
Tim Osmond's list.
Yeah. So remember when Tim Osmond came in with that list, and he was like, "Yeah, I got this list of all these things that you guys claim and blah blah blah, whatever," right? When all he's claiming is Earth curvature. Okay. So I remember asking him, like, "So Tim, if you went to the beach and you were looking out at the water, if there just happened to be some, I don't know, fog, would you still be able to see as much as you could see if there was no fog?" He says no. Oh, okay. So then you're gonna have to add that to your list as well, aren't you? He didn't like that very much. That was a bit of a problem for him.
So you were discussing how much things disappeared over the horizontal plane.
Yeah, that was Tim Osmond's list of doom. He didn't realize it.
I remember
all
George.
he has is Earth curve.
I remember
Yeah,
George.
but then you have about the fog, and then the whole list. It's a problem now. Now you got to change your list because your list only has one thing: Earth curve. But now I just asked you about fog, and fog apparently changes what you see. So you're gonna have to add that to your list. Sorry, there, buddy.
Yeah, because what you were pointing out there is
it doesn't have an Earth curve.
What you're pointing out there, Chocolate, is here's something from reality, right? That completely takes what it's like. You just gave him a black swan in a way. Like, so fog then. What about that? Oh yeah.
Yep.
So fog is in reality. So these other things that you're claiming that are not part of reality, right? Like perspective and maybe wave shoaling, all these things that are part of reality, right? That you're trying to hand wave away and just call Earth curve. Are you going to call fog Earth curve? No. Do you know what I mean? Idiot.
Exactly the reason I asked him that. Yep.
I remember George Netchuk presenting a photograph some years ago. I think it was on Ranties. And it was a good few years back. And it was this picture taken by, I think it was Miles Davis or something, at this location up north near Scotland. And it was this foggy, muggy day, right? Where it was the picture, like you didn't have to make it black and white. It was already totally grey. No one of those days. It's just everything is grey. There's no colour to anything. And it was looking out over over the water, and your line of sight was really limited, like the distance you could view, and everything was muggy and bad. He said, perfect. He called it perfect viewing conditions, because that's what they have to hijack to come up with Earth curve. Perfect viewing conditions. He was laughed out of it. I know the man's passed away now, but he was like, perfect viewing conditions. You couldn't have a worse day. There couldn't be more muggy. You know what I mean? And perfect viewing conditions.
Perfect for a globe map to match. That's
yeah,
what he
perfect to come up with a globe. It mathematically match a globe to it, yeah, because you can't see anything.
If the sun came out that day, oh, there's the curve. Oh shit. That's how silly it is, man.
Well, I remember only a while back that they started using perspective against us. They tried to use it against us only a while back. I can't remember the reason why, but they started using perspective. It could have something to do with the celestial navigation argument.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but they started coming in at us with perspective. They tried that.
It was around the time we started talking about that. Like I remember, like when Virus was coming on, and there was some other guy, and I remember arguing, and like even one of them was like, "What about perspective, Nathan?" I still have that clip somewhere. I don't even know where it is, but they were asserting to us, "What about perspective, guys? What are you talking about?" Gotta love it.
Yeah, but
wasn't that Cold Show?
No.
Yeah, but that was already the admission that it's locally flat or too biggy.
It was kind of like after the locally flat thing started to pop up a lot more. When we started focusing on Polaris and celestial navigation and what's going on with the stars and how you can measure latitude and shit. That's when it kind of started.
Well, we have one over here. Was on the other day was claiming the Foucault pendulum. I mean, he was using a vertical, a horizontal plane, an equatorial plane, a north-south horizontal vector, and claiming a sphere. So ridiculous.
That's the one that still gets me. Like, I don't believe these people are claiming rotation with a pendulum. That's supposedly attached to the same thing that it's rotating on.
I have a couple of
Yeah, it's
diagrams. I
ridiculous
can't
at this point.
And it has to be pushed to start.
I have a couple of diagrams. I can't present them right now, but hopefully I'll be on the show tomorrow and I'll present them. One is from me, right, and one is from Ruhif, and I'll have to explain because you'll know something is wrong when you see Ruhif's one, but not everyone in the audience is going to know exactly what's happening. It's crazy what he's tried to do, right? But this is his way around avoiding the fact that perspective is going to happen. I mean, I have to give him props. He's ingenious. When you see this, I'll show you. It's ingenious in a way because it's so stupid that people might accept it. You're not going to way, but it's hilarious. And I'll show you I'll show you my diagram, which shows what will actually be happening, but for their globe. But it's just the craziness they have to come up with to try and claim a globe.
Yeah, but it becomes a pendulum once it is swinging back and forth. In this case, north-south. Once it is stopped, yeah, it's like a plumb perpendicular to the equatorial plane, because you're going to be using the equatorial plane. I mean, the pendulum needs. That's the claim. Pendulum swinging north-south, and there is a rotation from west to east, deviation of 15 degrees per hour. They're using the equatorial plane for that motion. And the pendulum, before becoming a pendulum, yeah, it becomes a perpendicular to the equatorial plane. Did it like that. Yeah, they need to stop using a flat Earth to prove that sphere.
The only two places on Earth where pendulum would be perpendicular to the equatorial plane would be if you were on the North Pole or on the South Pole.
Perpendicular to the plane.
Yeah, only on these two places on Earth. In
no.
any other place, any other latitudes, it wouldn't be perpendicular to the equatorial plane.
Latitude. No, let's not deviate to latitude. Perpendicular to the plane. How can you have perpendicular without the plane?
He agreed with
I mean, you can reference a perpendicular to a line, for example. But in this case, it is indeed reference to a plane. This plane isn't the Earth, though.
Spheres, they don't have planes, though.
I mean, you can have a plane intersecting a sphere.
With you, right? He's agreeing. He's saying, yes, you can be perpendicular to the plane of reference, but at other locations, you won't have it. You'll have reciprocating zenith angles, is presumably where he's going with this, right, EMBO?
No, I'm going with this because he's talking about the pendulum, like the direction of the plumb, being perpendicular to the equatorial plane. The equatorial plane is the plane where you have the circle of the equator, like cutting the sphere into two halves. Then you have the plane on which this circle is contained. So logically, the only places where your vertical will be perpendicular to that plane, if you imagine it like in 3D visualization, would be if you were on the North Pole or on the South Pole, because there your vertical would be perpendicular to the plane of the equator. On any other latitude, you would be tilted at a different angle.
No, Embo, that's incorrect. If I use your paradigm, like they use it in astronomy and celestial navigation, the equatorial plane, it's within your paradigm, the globe is treated as a perfect sphere in celestial navigation and astronomy. So that plane will, any point you are on your globe, there will be an equatorial plane perpendicular to you.
Yeah, at all.
You don't have. Yeah, it doesn't make any difference. But that plane moves around inside the globe. It moves around inside with the mathematically moves around with the person who is moving along the convex surface.
You realise you can measure with respect to the equatorial plane and the extended celestial plane, right? That's what you're measuring latitude with respect to. You appreciate that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But when you set up a pendulum...
I was leading you. Yes. So we're measuring Earth and the star's angle with respect to the plane of the ecliptic or the celestial plane. You said yes. You want to confirm again? Or did you want to waffle onto something else when I've got a point to make?
It's in reference to the equatorial plane. But you're mentioning different types of planes.
I was going somewhere. The second time's a charm, right? So I lead you, you say yes, then you've decided, well, no, I'm going to hijack this point with something else. I'll try. Just need you to say yes. Yeah, we're measuring Earth flat with respect to the plane of the ecliptic. It's a simple fact of how we measure that angle for latitude. Just need a yes, and then I'll move on.
The plane of the ecliptic isn't the same thing as equatorial plane.
Why are you telling me what it isn't? Why are you telling me what it isn't? I didn't ask you what it was or wasn't. It's what we measure the angle for latitude with respect to, isn't it?
No, the equatorial plane is not the plane of the ecliptic.
No. The plane of the ecliptic, right, is not what I'm describing. What I'm describing is the equatorial plane that you'll measure. If I said plane of the ecliptic, I misspoke. I'm talking about the equatorial plane that is measured with respect to latitude. That's what you actually measure for latitude. That's what it's in reference to.
Yes. I would say it's in a reverse. Latitudes are measured in relation to the equatorial plane.
So latitude is measured with respect to the flat equatorial plane, correct?
Yes.
So we're measuring Earth flat then. So we'll need an equatorial plane to be measuring with respect to then. So in other words, what we're measuring with respect to, angles from, isn't in the centre of hell. You can't measure in a globe, but that's what this measurement is with respect to. I've got it on screen for my audience now. It's the angle coming out through the globe from the centre to the celestial sphere. That's what this angle is. It's marked on screen as latitude. Well, that you can't measure on a globe. You're measuring it in a globe if you infer a globe's involved. You understand that, right? You understand that you're measuring in a globe if you infer a globe's involved. Exactly as diagrammatically represented for my audience right now. You understand that it's inside the globe that the angle's referenced to, right?
If you were to measure this angle directly, then yes. But you don't measure the
Stop.
angle
We do measure
directly.
latitude. Stop. What do you mean if? We do measure latitude. It's an angle measurement with respect to the plane. The equatorial plane. That is where it's measured. We do measure latitude. We just can't measure it in hell. That doesn't make it an if we measure it. We definitely measure it. Just not in hell. You understand? For you, second time. If a globe's involved, this angle, that's latitude angle measurement with respect to the plane, that's a flat Earth, is in hell for you. Now, you can't measure that, but I can. I can measure off a flat plane. Easy. I can, you can't, because yours is in hell, mine's on a flat surface. But we do measure latitude. You understand that?
Latitude is calculated. You use
no, it's a measurement. Stop.
Stars.
No, lie. Stop. No, it's not a calculation. It's a measurement of the Polaris star angle with respect to the plane. That's the equatorial plane that you're measuring the angle of the star with. Are you denying that we measure Polaris and its angle for latitude? Are you denying that because you can't measure it in a globe? Are you now denying that? You started with an if statement. Now you're making out like it's not something we measure, we calculate. No, we definitely measure angles to Polaris. Why are you denying that?
Yeah, you can measure an angle to Polaris, but this won't give you latitude alone.
That is latitude. Hello?
You need 3 stars for latitude and longitude. This is how celestial navigation works.
That is latitude. Just denied the fundamental basis of latitude. Why?
Because it isn't latitude.
Okay, how do you measure latitude?
Use trilateration based on 3 sightings to stars.
Sorry, for latitude, which specific star would you use?
No, you don't.
It's not true. Which
Any
star
free
would you use?
Any 3 navigation stars listed in the almanac.
It's based on Polaris.
No, it isn't.
Denial is not going to cut it.
Okay.
I mean, you can find your latitude in the southern hemisphere. Polaris isn't even visible.
No, your latitude is
Automatically begging the question.
south of the equator. Your latitude south of the equator is people use the sun and that at times of day to get their latitude south of the equator. But if you're north of the equator, and the reason that the south of the equator latitudes exist is because we have measured latitude from the GP of Polaris out to what we call the equator via Polaris. That's what gives us latitude. If it wasn't for that, there wouldn't be any latitude south of the equator. There wouldn't be any. The reason that they exist at all, which is an attempt to red herring away from the point, is because we have measured the latitude from the GP of Polaris out to the equator. Without Polaris, there is no latitude. Polaris gives you your latitude.
Yeah, but the GP of Polaris, it moves over
read this
time.
from Nova
Then
Online. Sorry. The astrolabe,
if you consider,
just going to cite it.
Sorry, I thought you don't want to speak.
Just going to cite it. Allows the user to measure vertical angles, was very important to sailors in ancient times. Determining the angle between your position on Earth and Polaris determines your latitude.
As an approximation.
That's not what it says.
Yes, as an approximation.
Sorry, it doesn't say that.
Nathan,
Sorry, did you just need to invent this crap? It was trilateration a minute ago. Right, go and get me a citation for that.
Okay.
I'm going to have to go in a minute, Nathan.
Yeah, no
I'd
worries.
like to stay for this. But I'll be on for another while, but I won't be able to come in, and then I'll just have to drop. Just that I'd let you know. But Embo is going back to that nonsense about how Polaris moves around. Remember, we went through that, where Polaris moving around means you can't use it for your latitude. But yet, it can be used for your latitude sometimes, and sometimes you have to make a correction, which makes no sense if Polaris is making a circle like they're claiming.
I'm glad you
makes absolutely zero sense.
Yeah, gotcha. We've already had this conversation, haven't we?
Yeah, so that's where he's going. Oh, it moves around. He brought up that. Now that's not connected to his trilateration nonsense. Okay. Him coming up with Polaris, he did say it moves around because he said the GP moves around. It's like, no, we went through that. Remember, it was a contradiction.
Nathan, happy birthday! I've off to pizza, so I'll try and catch you guys Wednesday.
Right, you off too?
See you, Adam. Enjoy your pizza, buddy.
Yeah. See you later, guys.
See you later.
Happy birthday, Nathan. I didn't realize it was today.
It's tomorrow.
Oh, well, I wish you a happy birthday tomorrow.
Yeah, I just won't be around, so I'm glad you're off. Right, well, we've already covered that subject. EMBO.
Yeah, it was a contradiction, Nathan, because if Polaris is, what it was is that they were trying to claim that if Polaris was appearing to the observer north or above what they were calling the North Celestial Pole, or below what they were calling the North Celestial Pole, then you had to make a correction for it. But you didn't need any correction when it was supposedly at either side of it, which makes no geometric sense, because the line between you and that point would be longer than the line between you and their claimed North Geographic Pole, or North Celestial Pole. Sorry, well, it would be North Geographic actually, because underneath it. So, like, it made no sense. Oh, you have to make corrections for it sometimes. Like, no. So it was a contradiction. The thing ended up in a big contradiction that they couldn't deal with. Just as a memory, so you'd remember it, because I didn't know if you'd remember it.
Vaguely.
I remember that conversation, and I just posted my citation. It is a citation from University of Hawaii and its Institute for Astronomy. which speaks about circumpolar stars, and when it references Polaris in this context, it says that in the northern hemisphere, Polaris nearly at the north celestial pole. So if it's nearly at the south celestial pole, it means at the north celestial pole, it means it isn't perfectly at the north celestial
Is that what
pole.
it says? Sorry, are you reading this out or adding this in your own words?
No, I'm reading it word to word.
You want to start by saying with quote marks, read it out, and then say end quote, and then name where it's come from.
Okay, no problem. Where was this fragment? Oh, okay. So, beginning of the quote from University of Hawaii, the link is in the main chat. Visibility of the sky depends on your latitude on Earth. From everywhere, some of the sky will be below the horizon at any time, and from everywhere except the equator, some of the sky will always be below the horizon. Similarly, some stars are circumpolar, that is, they don't set. In the northern hemisphere, Polaris, in brackets, nearly at the north celestial pole, and the constellation of Ursa Major, Ursa Minor, and Cassiopeia are circumpolar at some latitudes, and this obviously varies with latitude. End quote.
Okay. How does that help you at all?
Because it says that Polaris is at nearly at the North Celestial Pole. It nearly isn't the same thing as perfectly at the North Celestial Pole.
So, and this is saying that we wouldn't get latitude with Polaris. It doesn't say anything of the sort. Your argument is that we don't get latitude with Polaris.
I could provide other source saying that
you could,
latitude
but,
is reference to the...
I mean, you could go to other astronomy manuals when I've got a navigation, which is the discussion, by the way, description of how latitude would represent itself with respect to a sphere that the angle's coming from within that I already detailed to you. I mean, it's specifically detailing how to measure Polaris with respect to a plane and detail it with a globe. It's marked with latitude as the actual diagram with a picture of the star. But you're saying no. Well, your citation didn't help you.
So, if I give a citation that says the latitude is reference to the North Celestial Pole, then logically, if you merge the logic from these two citations, it would imply
No,
that
you don't have
Polaris
to imply
isn't
what
the
anything
reference.
says. It didn't say that. I don't need to hear your batshit insane interpretation of what it says when I've got eeducation.com that describes explicitly, use the altitude of Polaris to find latitude. It says it explicitly. The altitude of a star is a measurement in degrees of the angle of the star above the horizon. Flat out on the horizon is 0, straight up to the sky is at 90 degrees, which has a special name. It's zenith. This is in an article specifically from eeducation.com about navigation and how to use Polaris to find your latitude. You say no. Well, you are wrong, and the only thing you've cited, your emo. Did you think that making a load of background noise while I'm taking a dump on your stupid claim was going to help you? Just go on mute. Yeah. No, we do definitely use Polaris to find latitude. And I've got it on screen still. It's been on the entire time. You can't get it in a globe. But that is how it works. Now, we are measuring angles to Polaris for latitude, specifically cited as that's how you do it by eeducation.com. Not an astronomy, not navigation, citation says it's near, and therefore I can infer that you can't, measure Polaris for latitude? Yeah, you definitely can. Like on this diagram, like in my citation that specifically details how you do it with Polaris, specifically for latitude. So you're a bullshitting glurf, and you're wrong. Furthermore, you're sidetracking away from the fact that latitude, with respect to the angle you would measure, could only be inside the globe. You still haven't addressed that. You said if, in response to it last time. If we measure it like that. No, we do measure it like that. We're just not getting it inside a globe. It's on screen for my audience. Here's the latitude measurement marked with Polaris and an angle to it on a plane. It's just that the angle terminates inside the globe. Somewhere you couldn't be measuring this angle with. I just want you to confirm that you understand this angle that is measured, that is used for latitude specifically, as detailed, terminates inside the globe when it's diagrammatically represented as it's measured on a flat plane, which is the only way you can get this angle.
It would be reference to the flat horizontal plane which isn't the Earth.
No, it isn't the
If you
globe
measure an
Earth.
elevation
No,
angle.
no, we are measuring with respect to a baseline. You're saying it's not Earth. It is Earth. We're measuring a baseline and it's ground position of Polaris that we're measuring. You think ground positions of Polaris for latitude that you denied it was on the ground? They're ground positions, not the Earth. You don't think ground positions are Earth positions? Do you think they're in space? No, idiot. That was rhetorical. They're ground positions. GP of Polaris is latitude. That's the angle you measure with respect to the ground. So why would you say it's not the ground? Is it because it's not your globe ground the angle is in? Let's just correct you. You're off mute, of course, waiting for your time to chant straight through the middle of me as I correct you. There you go. Pop yourself back on mute, good lad. No, just to be correcting you on that last statement. No, they are measured with respect to the ground. They're ground positions. They're just not on your globe. Just to be clear.
No, you're measuring an angle, not the ground position. You get the coordinates of the ground position from the almanac, which are already written there.
So ground positions, then you denied it was the ground a minute ago because it's not your globe ground and you've not acknowledged that was not responsive to my point. We are measuring with respect to the ground. You've just confirmed that. We are measuring ground positions. You've then talked about how we'll reference the almanac after the fact. Yeah, we will. That's fascinating. For the ground positions, that's right. Well, they're not on your globe ground. Second time. That was non-responsive. You didn't answer me the first time. I'm putting it to you again. I don't know why I'm having to repeat myself. Diagrammatically for the audience, because he's ignored me. Non-responsive answer about the almanac. This angle measurement with respect to the ground is being measured for latitude. When represented diagrammatically as it is on screen now, it is inside the globe. His response was to say this measurement isn't on the ground, isn't with respect to Earth. Yes, it is. For a globe Earth, it's inside it. For a flat Earth, it's just on the flat Earth that it's being measured from. For ground positions.
So you measure an angle, not a ground position. Ground position is something that is written in the almanac as data that you simply read.
Right,
An angle only gives you the distance to the ground position if you calculate it, if you subtract that from 90 degrees.
Which you can't have on a globe, and that's why diagrammatically, third time, diagrammatically, this angle measurement is represented on screen with a globe included. Now, he hasn't addressed it 3 times as a charm, I suppose. In this diagram, you've got the angle terminating inside the globe. You also detailed this earlier when you described the bifurcation with the equatorial plane. You know what I am talking about. You detailed it earlier. I urge you. So, given that you understand that this latitude measurement is bifurcating the Earth and that the angle will be in the centre of it, that is not on the globe surface, but factually is on a flat plane because the angle is with respect to a measured baseline. Just not your globe surface, like diagrammatically represented here. Just not your globe surface.
You can convert the measured angle, assuming that Polaris gives you latitude, which I disagree with, but assuming that
It's not assuming anything, I've just referenced it. Your citation from astronomy didn't overcome that. What do you mean, if you accept it? I cited it as being the very specific way you'd get it. It's on screen now, diagrammatically represented, with the word latitude and the longitude represented with respect to a plane. The plane is diagrammatically represented, as is the globe, as is the measurement, and you're just denying it again. Did you want to rinse? I'm done with him. Why are you rinsing and repeating this? If we can get the latitude, because you deny it, I don't care. You're an idiot. I cited it. It's very specifically how we get this measurement, but what if you can wangle in the rinse and repeat return to maybe we can't get this measurement that I'm representing on screen right now? That is the latitude system, very specifically with Polaris, and its measurement off a plane. If we can question that, then we can question whether or not we can measure it on a plane with a baseline for its ground position that isn't on the globe. 4th time. Non sequitur. Response. 3rd time's a charm. 4th time. It's not on the globe, it's in the globe in this diagram. The one that you described when you bifurcate Earth. It is the latitude measurement. It's twice. Don't rinse and repeat it a third time. I'll just terminate this conversation. It's in the globe for you, isn't it?
Yeah, latitude is measured from the center of the Earth.
No, it isn't. Latitude is measured with an angle off a flat Earth to Polaris. We don't measure from in hell. You stupid globe-believing idiot. There are no measurements from the center of Earth. Now, I appreciate that you can take this flat Earth angle measurement of Polaris and then convert it into a sphere and put the angle in hell. But you just said we're measuring. Are you still off mute? Of course, he's flashing away. See that, ladies and gentlemen? He's line flashing. That's because he's off mute because he doesn't like the heat. Needs to get ready to chant through it. Right? No. We're not measuring in hell, as you just suggested. I'd like you to address that specifically. Your words were, we measure inside the globe. No, this measurement isn't inside a globe. We can't measure inside a globe. We measure on the surface. We can't measure, as you just stated, EMBO, inside the globe. We can measure Polaris. It's a flat Earth angle measurement of Polaris. It's just not coming from hell. We can measure it. You said we couldn't measure it. Or we could from hell.
It's not measured, you calculate it.
No, we don't. We measure it. It's an angle to Polaris. It's calculated to be measured inside a globe because you just said it was measured in hell. It isn't measured in hell. It's measured off a plane. It's an angle. It's not calculated. It's measured with a sextant.
Yeah. With a sextant, you measure sightings to 3 stars. Then you
No, we're not doing 3 stars. We're measuring
positions.
latitude. That's 1 star, Polaris. We're not measuring 3 stars. We're measuring 1 in this example. It seems that he's tried a little subversion technique where we're not getting latitude anymore because he's tried to deny that we measure this diagrammatical example of latitude being measured with Polaris. He's ignored my citation in respect to navigation and how we'd find our way with a sextant from an e-education citation that specifically details how we'd use Polaris to do exactly that. Because he's got a, what? A telescope manual that says otherwise. Oh, I don't give a crap about what the pseudoscience of astronomy says about this fact. Because this fact is measured on a flat Earth with this angle. That's how it's measured. It's just not in hell. Measuring it from a flat plane doesn't mean it's a calculation, EMBO.
But that isn't how celestial navigation is done. Celestial navigation uses
Don't tell me what it is or
intercept
isn't. We're talking very specifically about an angle to Polaris that we can measure for latitude. It's on screen now in hell. You can't measure it. I can.
If you want to assume this angle gives you latitude, you will get 1 degree.
So we do get, just to be clear, you denied it twice. We do get latitude with this angle. It's not an if statement.
I mean, if you...
it's not an if.
Accuracy,
it's not if. It's the third time.
If your accuracy...
Are you dumb? Are you not listening to me? Do you just prefer that what I said
No,
would
I
be
just
ignored?
don't want to be interrupted.
Because you keep saying if.
Like to
you keep saying if. Like, if we can get an angle to Polaris, we do, we can, we must for latitude. It's measured off a flat plane, it's an angle. Now, when you diagrammatically represent that angle, this is the 6th time I've put this to you, your measured angle, end quote, you, is in hell. It cannot be measured in hell. You, on a globe, can't measure it. It's an angle off a plane. That's what it is. Now, you can't measure it, so you're saying it's a calculation. No, it isn't. It's a measurement. That was where we ended up last time. So, 3rd time's a charm. It is a measurement. It's an angle of Polaris that you want to make an if statement, and I'm not going to let you. When I've cited it. When it's on screen. When it's how you get latitude with that star. Angle off a flat plane's the only way to measure that angle. It just doesn't work if you're claiming to measure it in hell like you did when you said you measure it in hell. You don't. But that doesn't make it a calculation. It's still a measurement. It's just only possible on a flat Earth.
You can measure it if your accuracy can allow 1 degree of error approximately. But in celestial navigation, this will already make you like 60 nautical miles off at worst.
Oh, I see. So you accept that we can measure this angle off a flat Earth, but you're saying after measuring the angle off a flat Earth, you suggest that it's slightly inaccurate, do you? After we acquire this angle that saved many lives at sea. I see. So you now accept we can, we must, and we will be measuring flat Earth for this elevation angle to Polaris for latitude then. It's just you say it's inaccurate after you've accepted it's measured flat. Gotcha.
No, you will be simply measuring an angle from which you infer the Earth is flat, which doesn't follow.
I didn't infer anything. It's measuring a baseline. You just said, I'm measuring an angle, and it's with respect to a flat baseline. That is a measurement. I'm not inferring jack. I can infer that it's got a ground position based on the almanac, but that would be a 90-degree position to your position on a flat Earth after an inference. But the angle measurement is just a straight line along a baseline with respect to Earth and the horizontal plane of reference that it is. That's how it's measured. Those are facts. I'm not inferring jack when I measure Earth flat with that angle. I'm just measuring it.
The baseline would be your line of sight to the horizon, and the second arm
Welcome
of the
to
angle
flat
would be the line of
Earth.
sight to the star.
Welcome to flat Earth. Your baseline will be between you and your horizon. So welcome to flat Earth.
And how does the flat Earth follow from that?
So
If you
because
can
we're
have a
measuring Earth
horizon, a
flat
sphere.
for a baseline with the horizon, like you just stated explicitly, and now I'm welcoming you to flat Earth, given that you've just utilised the horizon to establish a baseline with it. You are measuring Earth flat then, with the horizon, for this straight line to form an angle on screen now, depicted on the flat plane inside hell. The straight line is the baseline. And he said we'll acquire that with the horizon. Oh, we can acquire straight lines with respect to the horizon. That's interesting. Like a horizontal plane of reference. All planes being parallel with that horizon. Yeah, that's how we'll get the baseline. I'll say it one more time, EMBO. Welcome to flat Earth.
The horizontal planes at different coordinates are measurably not parallel.
So we'll need a
diverging
horizontal
through.
plane then, EMBO. Yeah, we know we need a horizontal plane, and now you're telling us about those horizontal planes we use.
Yeah, and these horizontal planes aren't the Earth.
Yeah, they are. That's what we're measuring with respect to the baseline, and we're establishing it with the horizon, EMBO. You just told us a moment ago. I welcomed you to flat Earth when you did it.
Yeah, the horizon isn't the same thing as the Earth.
Oh, so it's not Earth curve then? Yeah, we already knew that in 2020, Black Swan. If the horizon was a geometric physical obstruction, it would be at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, when it's claimed to be the Earth. Now, you're denying that the Earth has anything to do with the horizon? Well, it's not geometric physical sphere edge then, is it? But what we will be doing when we measure Earth is establishing a horizontal plane of reference with it. End quote, you. When we use the horizon to establish the baseline, yeah, that's not a physical geometric sphere edge falling away then, is it? It's something we're using to establish a horizontal plane of reference, EMBO. That's why I welcomed you to flat Earth. He's off mute, by the way, I haven't finished. Just pointing out why I welcomed him to flat Earth, and he's obviously in need of chanting through me. Very telling. No, mate, I already welcomed you to flat Earth because you used the horizon to establish a horizontal plane of reference. When we measure Earth flat for latitude. Now, obviously, you want to turn that into a calculation. You want to deny that latitude's even measurable with Polaris. You want to deny the accuracy after utilising the plane to get the measurement. That's where we're at currently. Oh, well, it won't be very accurate when we use these horizontal planes of reference that we utilise the horizon to establish. Welcome to flat Earth.
If the horizon has something to do with the Earth, it would depend on the type of the horizon you're speaking about. Now we're speaking about astronomy, so in this context,
No, we're not. We're talking about
the
navigation.
astronomical
No,
horizon.
we're not. We're talking about navigation. You tried that when you described how inaccurate it was. I just went to someone who specifically, eeducation.org, described what we'd be doing if we wanted our latitude. And they very specifically, immediately detail measuring Polaris. Now, you went to a different citation that had sod all to do with navigation. We're not talking about anything other than navigation. You want it to be something else, though, don't you, son? It isn't. We are measuring a horizontal plane of reference. We did, according to you, Establish it with the horizon. I mean, obviously we wouldn't be establishing any horizontal planes of reference if it was falling away from our tangential point, claimed to be a dingleberry dangling below us, that we're not measuring, because we're measuring a either tangent plane, which we're what we get in that tangent plane with. The horizon? There was me thinking it fell away in a globe Earth rhetoric that we're definitely not measuring for this angle. No, we're just not measuring anything sphere shaped for this angle. It's a flat baseline. And we'll get it from the horizon. Welcome to flat Earth.
The horizon in this context would be basically the intersection of your tangent plane with the celestial sphere. It would
Not
would
in
be a
this
circle
diagram.
on the celestial
Oh, so
sphere that
let's
is
just prove him
horizontal
wrong
to you.
in his own rhetoric. This is called the globe burger. It's the dissection he described earlier. We also have the dingleberry Earth, which has a single tangent which only has one reference point to the globe. It's where you're standing. There's an inferred point from there, which is also claimed to be tangential to your position. Which one do you want to use? Is it the tangent point horizon below surface level that you would be inferring with that tangent? Because both of those tangents require a R-value derivation also measured with the minimum angle to Polaris. You called it the equator? Yeah, that would be the equator on your globe, wouldn't it? It's one of those latitude lines that wraps around the globe. The minimum elevation angle to Polaris, also known as your radial value. I mean, you could also use the claim to be Al-Biruni methodology of utilization of a flat plane to get the height of mountains to go up them and derive the difference from eye level parallel with surface level. You could use that method, or the back calculatable minimum elevation angle to Polaris, otherwise known as your equator. Both of those measurements are flat. Flat Earth mountain height for Al-Biruni and a flat Earth minimum elevation to Polaris. Those are where radial values come from. To infer sphericity, to have a dangling dingleberry Earth dangling below a tangent plane. But if you've got a dangling dangleberry to justify parallel light moving to the centre of the plane, then you haven't simultaneously utilised a geometric point below surface level, also known as Earth curve. You can only use one. And in your instance, both of them require an R value that's measured flat in the first place.
For the elevation angle, I'm going to use the tangent at my observer's position. So what you could call the eye level.
No, the tangent won't have a GP on the end of it. It won't be very much use.
It doesn't have to have.
Sorry, we're trying to... You just explained only 3, 4, 5 minutes ago that we were going to be getting the GPs from the almanac. Are you denying that the whole purpose of this is to get a GP because a tangent plane hasn't got a GP on the end of it? It's not a ground position. Did you not understand that?
That's why you get it from the almanac and then calculate the distance to it and measure it directly.
No. Let's just say that slower. The tangent you inferred won't have a ground position on the end of it. In your rhetoric, you transpose that angle off a plane into hell, don't you?
No, I don't.
Oh, so the diagram on screen I'm using from the Celestial Navigation Manual is wrong. It's not an angle with respect to the plane of... Sorry, was that you off mute chanting through me? Sorry, this is wrong then, what I've got up for my audience and have had up the entire time. It's not your description of a bifurcation of Earth then. Why, EMBO, did you detail the bifurcation of Earth if it's not going to be transposed down to the centre of hell so it can work on the equatorial and extended celestial planes? If it's not parallel light rays transposed down into hell, why would I even have this diagram with a globe in it then? Why would you describe the bifurcation of Earth at the equatorial plane? Were you just bullshitting us about pretending to know what you're talking about? Because it absolutely will not have ground positions on the end of the claim to be tangent plane you measure, requiring a transposition into hell. Did you not know that? Do you not know your own stupid globe faith? Am I having to educate you on the transposition with claim to be parallel light rays? Did you not understand this stuff, EMBO? I'll explain it again if you didn't understand that.
I understand everything, but I simply don't see your image because
I don't care what you see. You detailed it to me. You detailed this to me, and I went and got this image based on what you said. You said the bifurcation of Earth at the equatorial plane, so I went and got a diagram of it. That's this. What you need to know what you said. I know you know what you said, that's why I went and got it. You don't have to be off mute while I berate you for your stupidity. And subversion technique, you can be on mute while I berate you. You're a deceitful little shit. You detailed it to me. What, now you need to see the diagram? No, you do understand then, like you've just tried to obfuscate away from, what I said when I said the GP won't be on the end of that tangent that you claim to be measuring, requiring a transposition into hell. Now, I just want to hear one word from you. That would be yes, EMBO.
You don't measure any angles from hell. These angles that are from this coordinate system that you call hell are calculated, not measured. These
no, they're
are
measured angles.
no,
they are measured. They're calculated for you if you need to make them work with the globe. I've already gone through this 3 times with you. If you make this angle work with the globe, you've got to be inside the globe. It works when it's inside the globe, right? Doesn't it, AMBO? It works then, right?
It works because you don't have to be...
So that would be a yes. I didn't ask for an explanation. I know you claim it works when you calculate it into hell. But we're going to need to calculate it into hell to get it to work, like I've said 4 times. Aren't we? Just needed a yes.
Yes.
Yeah. We're not measuring angles in hell, though. But we can measure this angle on a flat Earth. For you, this measured angle needs to be calculated into being in hell. Oh, well, we just measure it on a flat Earth, EMBO. We don't have to calculate anything, and it's still perfectly functional without this globe wrapped around it. In fact, it kind of gets in the way. It's not really doing anything. It's surplus to requirements in this diagram. What we really need is the angle measurement to the star with respect to the view we have of the sky. And that's what's measured and represented on the flat plane. Now, for you, it needs quite a lot of calculations to make it work. It already works. It's just an angle to Polaris off a flat plane. But for you, it needs calculating into hell. Yeah, I know. Yeah, we can just measure it on a flat Earth, though, EMBO. It's still latitude. That angle to Polaris still functions as latitude when we measure it on a flat Earth. It just doesn't work on a globe, does it? Because there's no GP at the end of the tangent. I had to go through the point that you obfuscated 5 times to get to the same concession when you said you'd be measuring it with respect to a tangent plane? Dingleberry Earth. Globe burger. Bifurcation of Earth, like you detailed. That would need a transposition into hell, like I said 5 times. It's almost like you're trying to obfuscate away from the fact that you can't get this measurement to work on a globe. But it definitely works on a flat plane. It's just an angle measurement to Polaris. No, we get this angle with reference to the horizon. We can establish the horizontal plane of reference with that horizon. It's not Earth curve falling away. It wouldn't be useful for establishing this angle if you did use it that way. And that's why you wouldn't use the surface of this globe in this diagram. It wouldn't work. You wouldn't get an angle from it. I mean, you can with the horizon. Welcome to Flat Earth, by the way, Imbio. Welcome for the 3rd time. Like you said, we'll use the horizon to establish this flat plane measurement that we're measuring Polaris with. It won't work on a globe. We can infer tangent planes, but then they won't have GPs, so we'll calculate it into hell and draw an angle that we've just measured on a flat plane inside a sphere with a flat plane to the position below the star that's not on the surface of the sphere. But that's okay. It's just a calculation. No, it's a measurement. So we've dealt with everything. We are measuring latitude. It is with respect to a measurement of a flat Earth. It won't work on a globe. It will require transposition into hell. None of his obfuscation and lies about this not being how we acquire latitude with Polaris were just glurf lies to try and obfuscate away from the facts of the matter. And he still hasn't conceded. We can measure latitude, we just can't measure it in hell. And we can't measure it on the surface of a dingleberry. That's why he needs a tangent plane. But a tangent plane won't work either because it won't have a GP at the end of it. Done. That's the end of your argument. Meanwhile, I'll just measure latitude. and know exactly what the latitude is. No conversion to the surface of a globe. No immediate inference that the globe I'm now assuming I'm standing on has nothing to do with my measurement. It's only a flat plane extending into space that isn't the ground. But because it isn't the ground, and I need to believe I'm standing on a sphere when I'm measuring Earth flat with a plane that isn't the ground anymore, I can transpose that plane that isn't the ground anymore that I've just measured into hell, so it will work with the original angle measurement from Polaris. It's just it'll only work if I'm standing in the centre of hell now. And then the angle measurement won't actually be on the surface of the globe anymore. It'll be on the extended equatorial plane. So therefore, the globe is just a calculation, and this flat Earth measurement isn't really a measurement. Even if it was, it wouldn't really be accurate, says the globe head. No, we're just measuring Earth flat. You're a numpty and need to believe in a whole bunch of crap that isn't what we're measuring. That's the surface. And imagine a dingleberry, which we're not measuring, surplus to requirements if we were measuring a plane, that won't work for you with a dingleberry anyway, that needs transposition into hell. Useless glurf idiocy that doesn't have any relation to the actual measurement. We just measure an angle to Polaris. That's it. Done. End of argument. We measure Earth flat. Polaris is the best example of it. It's just a simple angle to Polaris with respect to a baseline. If you want to know how you can establish that baseline, you can use the horizon. All parallel planes are parallel with the horizon. That's why he used it. So we can get a flat plane with it. That's not establishing a 8 inches per mile squared glurf hill edge falling away. That's not going to give you a plane for an angle. What will give it you is a flat Earth, and that's exactly what we're measuring. That's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with ground positions. No conversion into spheres necessary. So, EMBO, do you appreciate, right, that when we measure an area of equal elevation, that our positional data is with respect to that massive area of equal elevation, right? When we measure an angle to a star, we're just dealing with a big fat circle that's flat, otherwise known as a circle of equal altitude. You ever heard of that term?
Yep. And the only map on which these circles would remain circles is the globe.
Yes. I mean, you're a bullshitter. You told us that Polaris wasn't good enough and that we wouldn't be measuring it for latitude. You're a bullshitter. So I'll just lead you. Just need a yes. So you understand the circles of equal altitude then? That's great big circles that have got no differential in height. None. Zero. Flat.
But the existence of circles of equal altitude proves that Polaris isn't enough because you need three of these circles and then intersect them with their coordinates.
Sorry,
that's how it's...
Sorry, you're saying the circles of equal altitude measured for latitude? Is that the ones you're detailing?
Both. For longitude and latitude.
A minute ago, Glurf Scum, a minute ago said that they weren't used, and you went out of your way to get citations to infer that they weren't usable. Why are you telling me about how they'll be used?
My citation was about Polaris not being usable.
No, it wasn't a navigation citation, and it didn't infer anything. It was useless. Saying, well, it's close enough, or it's close to. Okay, so it's close to your latitude, say them, that aren't dealing with navigation. Nobody's going to astronomy. Astronaming, nobody's going to that when they need to find their way at sea. Your citation was garbage. Meanwhile, you understand that the circles of equal elevation measured with respect to the stars. That's areas that are equal in elevation. Circles of equal altitude. That means they're all the same altitude. So those are circles that are flat, that we're going to be navigating with Asimov mute before I finish the statement for the second time. So I'll just try that again, Imbio. You already conceded you understand and acknowledge there are circles of equal elevation. They're measured with respect to the angles that you get from the stars. That's what you're calculating with those angles that you measure off a flat baseline. That's what you calculate with your reference plane that you got from the horizon for the angle. The flat Earth that you measured, once you've got these angles, what are you going to be doing with them? Well, you're going to be deriving circles of equal elevation with them. So I just want you to just understand and acknowledge for me. High, up, level, please mute. I just want you to understand and acknowledge for me that that's literally only possible if Earth's flat. It can only be describing a flat Earth. It's a circle of equal elevation. Just wondered if you could acknowledge that that is literally only possible if Earth is flat.
Do you think in this context of this term, the word elevation means like a physical elevation above sea level? Like if the circle passes through a mountain at one point and then passes through a valley, do you think this isn't a circle of equal elevation anymore?
We're not dealing with mountains and valleys when we describe their GP. Their GP is 90 degree to your position, regardless if it's right in the base of the mountain. That's irrelevant. What you're dealing with is a circle of equal elevation, isn't it? You understand? You've already acknowledged that.
So the elevation in this context refers to an angle,
elevation
not to physical
of what?
elevation.
Elevation of what?
Elevation of a star.
No, we're not dealing with a circle of equal elevation with respect to a star. It's on the ground. We're talking about a circle with respect to its ground position.
It's a set of points on the ground at which...
Right, so not the star then, so it's the ground. So this is a circle on the ground then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's equal elevation. All the same altitude on the ground.
No, the altitude here refers to an angle to the star.
No, the area is a circle of equal elevation. You measure the circle with respect to the star, and the circle of equal elevation is with respect to the ground, because every point on that circle is a possible position for you if you're trying to establish your fix with that star regardless. So they're definitely points on the ground because you're trying to figure out which point on the circle you're at. They're all on the ground, otherwise it wouldn't be useful for finding your location on the ground. So just for reiteration the third time, he's tried to obfuscate it, obviously, as a glurf, and acknowledgement that we're measuring the ground with the horizon, like he detailed, to establish a horizontal plane. And what we're doing with it? Well, we're making circles of equal elevation on the ground so we can figure out where on that circle of equal elevation we might be on the ground. So, third time's a charm. You understand and appreciate that that circle is with respect to the ground and it's all the same elevation, equal elevation. That's what you're describing.
Yeah. On this circle, you would everywhere see that particular star at the same elevation angle.
Oh, we'd
Indeed.
have to be describing Earth as a flat plane to do that then?
No, I wouldn't.
Right, you think
on
that,
the horizon,
you
which would
seem
be
confused.
horizontal.
No would mean that areas of equal elevation bend away at 8 inches per mile squared. Do the areas of equal elevation bend away at 8 inches per mile squared, yes or no?
No.
So we're definitely just dealing with a flat Earth then. We're not dealing with a curved Earth. No 8 inches per mile squared inferred or used. We're very specific, in fact. Quite the opposite. An area of equal elevation.
No, you're simply using two meanings of elevation at the same time, which are...
Elevation just means how high you are off the surface level, in this case above sea level. Elevation, if it's all equal, and we're not concerned with how high or low we are with respect to sea level, because we're dealing with parallel planes, it's just an area of equal altitude. An area that all has the same altitude with respect to sea level. All the same, not falling away.
I disagree. This is how...
So you think an area of equal elevation falls away at 8 inches per mile squared then?
If that was true, then circles of equal...
No, it isn't true. Circles of equal elevation wouldn't be of equal elevation if they falled away at 8 inches per mile squared, EMBO. So we're going to do this a fifth time then. So you understand and appreciate, like you've already conceded once, that areas of equal elevation are not falling away at 8 inches per mile squared then. They're at equal altitude. Yeah, so welcome to Flat Earth. We're dealing with Earth as a flat plane after measuring Earth as a flat plane. So we're applying these circles of equal elevation to the angles that we've measured off a flat plane after referencing the plane with the horizon to get the plane, to get the angle, to get the measurement, to apply it to an area of equal elevation with no curve. So we're measuring Earth flat and now we're navigating Earth flat. Yeah, welcome to Flat Earth. There's no curve involved in these processes. We're dealing with flat planes, flat circles, areas of equal elevation, areas of equal altitude. The Earth's not a sphere. We're dealing with it flat. We're measuring it flat. Welcome to Flat Earth.
I have a last question. Do you think the word elevation angle means the same as the elevation above sea level? Both of these contain the word elevation.
Elevation would be the angle that you measure with respect to a plane. That's elevation angle for a star. Your height above sea level would be your elevation. Above sea level. That's elevation.
So you agree that the word elevation can mean multiple things in different
No, we've got two different things. Elevation angle, specifically defined, as the angle measured between the observer and, for instance, the sun, and the horizontal plane the observer is standing on. That's the definition of an elevation angle. Elevation could just be your height above sea level. That would be a height above a flat Earth also. So your height above a flat Earth or your measurement of a flat Earth with respect to the angle to a star. Both elevation and elevation angle both require a flat Earth. After we use a flat Earth to measure this elevation angle, or elevation off sea level, that's not sea curve, can be applied to an area of equal elevation. That's all the same height, no difference in elevation. Also known as a circle of equal altitude. That would be the same altitude, same height above sea level. Altitude is the height above sea level. Altitude angle is the measurement to the star with respect to the flat Earth you're measuring. You know, the one you established with the horizon that's not falling away from us earlier.
So, in terms of the circles of equal elevation, elevation refers to an elevation angle, not to a physical elevation above sea.
No. Circles of equal elevation are taken after you measure the elevation angle. You're obviously too stupid to keep up. You measure an elevation angle and then derive a circle of equal elevation. Equal elevation means the same elevation. Altitude angle is a measurement of the star with respect to a flat Earth you will require and do establish with the horizon. I noticed that none of the points I actually responded to were addressed, and you conflated elevation and elevation angle for the second time. Rather than responding, now you're off mute waiting for your turn to talk. You didn't respond to anything I put to you. We're going to measure a flat Earth for the elevation angle. That's the measurement off a flat Earth, the one you established a plane with when you utilised the horizon, and I welcomed you to flat Earth because you needed to measure a flat Earth to get this elevation angle. Once we've got the elevation angle measured with a flat Earth, utilising the horizon to establish a horizontal plane of reference, what with all planes being parallel with the horizon and that, we got our flat Earth measurement, and then we applied it to a circle that we drew, potentially on a map, with respect to the ground position that's applicable only on a flat Earth to a circle of equal altitude, a circle of equal elevation. Yeah, that's what we've got.
Yeah. So when you measure this elevation angle, and then, as you said, after that you plot the circle, this circle would be the set of all points from which you could technically make that measurement, that elevation angle, measure that elevation angle at this value at this time. So if you do this for all three stars and connect all of these sets of points where you could make these measurements, this would only give you one possible place in which you could make these three measurements for all three stars at the same time and give you your location.
Yeah,
that's why circles of equal elevation refer to an angle.
Yeah. So you've described acquiring your positional data with respect to the three circles and their intersection point at only one location with respect to the three circles. Yeah, you could also use Polaris as one of those stars, right?
Yes.
Right, so on screen now, we've got that very measurement. It's still been on screen for the entire duration of this discussion. Let's say we measure the angle to Polaris. Oh no, in this diagram, I'd have to be in hell to get that measurement, wouldn't I?
I don't see your diagram, but I suspect what it is, and you would measure it.
It's the diagram that's been up the entire time
plane.
that you bought it. I went and got it because you described the bifurcation of Earth at the equatorial plane. Would it be better if you pretended you didn't know what the diagram was about, given that it was only put on screen after you specifically detailed it? You obviously know what it is. You brought it up. But now it'd be better if you played dumb, right? Oh, that's no worries. You don't know what the diagram is. It's the diagram with a latitude measurement. So we're going to use Polaris. This diagram's representing a measurement of an angle to Polaris. And we're going to draw a circle of equal elevation with that angle measurement. Other than the problem being that it's in hell. Can we be in hell?
The angle that you directly measure isn't in hell, but it would be equal to the one that is in hell.
But we do measure this angle. Why are you telling me that we can't measure it in a globe? No, we know. We're not in a globe, though, are we? We're just measuring this angle to Polaris. So for you, it doesn't work then.
The angle that you measure is not the one you measure in hell, but these two are equal.
Right, but that's the only way it works with the globe.
Yeah, that's why if you get...
Yeah, so it only works with a globe if you're in hell.
No, because they are...
What do you mean, no? That's how it's diagrammatically represented. You detailed it with the bifurcation of Earth. Now you're denying that which you detailed? What a scummy glurf liar. Why did you detail it then, EMBO? You can come off mute and chant through me as I point out your glurf scummy lies. You detailed the bifurcation of Earth with the Polaris-centric measurement that comes from hell. Now you're saying no? Okay, well, I'll just chuck this diagram out of globe Earth in the bin then, shall I? Okay, well, all bets are off for this diagram then, aren't they, EMBO, if no? You mean yes, it's just you can't measure it in hell?
I mean, you're just stating obvious truths. Of course, you cannot measure directly something in hell, but you can measure an angle that is equal to the one in hell, so when you get the directly measured one, you automatically get the hell one.
Where would we measure that from?
From the horizontal plane.
Welcome to Flat Earth. That's right. We measure this angle on a horizontal plane. Welcome to Flat Earth. We measure this angle on a horizontal plane. That's how we measure it. Now, for it to function at all, it has to be inside a globe, and we're not inside a globe. So how do we measure it? On a flat Earth. Welcome to Flat Earth, the EMBO. With that, I will say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And, of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams. Hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.